3 minutes late. Heck yeah, 15 concurrent viewers. It's the most people we've had all day, man.
That's good.
I'm gonna use the restroom real quick, guys, and I'll be right here. Remember that if you're in this channel in Discord, you are on the stream. What's good? All right. Welcome, guys. Welcome to the podcast. I am your host, Alex. You guys will have to forgive me. This is my first time really doing the podcast live, so we're going to push through it, though, and see where we end up. Yeah, so how is everybody today? I think we have some people here in Discord with us. We'll see. We have Dusseldorf. What's up? Not sure if he'll be openly participating or not. Gutsy. You hate pain. All right. And Holy Unit's also in here with us. I don't know if they'll be speaking up tonight, but we'll see. So, first, we're going to start out with what our topics are tonight. So we've had a pretty busy night. We'll start with world news first, and then we'll move to U.S. news. So I need to just move some stuff around real quick. Some of this qualifies as world news also, but we're going to keep it going. But first, we're going to talk about what happened today. And that is mostly revolving around Ukraine. Um, so today's assessment from the ISW came out, and basically what it's saying is that not much changed. Russia really shelled and did a whole bunch of stuff today, shelling along the eastern front. There were, of course, major conflicts. They continue to bombard the Astville metallurgic plant. Um, but unfortunately, at the same time, people are trying to evacuate. So evacuations were still happening. The UN continued to do it even as shelling continued. Um, on April 30th, basically, the Ukrainian army executed a large strike against multiple, what they figured were command centers um, for the Russian military, and took out a large number of Russian commanders, supposedly. And also happened to give a shrapnel wound to the top senior commander over the entire Ukrainian invasion. Um, they're going to continue to suffer from the disarray caused by this, especially around Izium for the next few days. So expect the Russian forces to really be operating. They're just going to be operating with using artillery, indirect fire, not a lot of ground movement and pushes, just more of trying to soften up the Ukrainian military positions and take those positions from them. So, beyond that, um, down in the south, they're trying to recover. Unfortunately, they've suffered significant losses in the south, especially down here around Kherson. It appears that the Ukrainian military has retaken almost all of the Kherson Oblast over here. This map is a little outdated, so if you zoom in right here, you'll see where it talks about this area here. This area now encompasses Kherson, where the conflict line is. So that big dot that says Kherson, that's actually now controlled by Ukraine as they try to encircle these forces. If the war effort for them keeps going the same way, they may actually be able to retake Crimea. In other news, over 200 Ukrainian soldiers have been trained in the new artillery they received from the United States military. Um, you see nothing. Really? You don't see you don't see this big screen right here? Is anybody else having that issue? Can you guys see the map on my screen? Oh, it didn't transition. All right. Well, here, okay, we'll go back over this. I apologize again. First times. Apologize. So, Kherson, right here, this blue from the which is Ukraine. This blue now encompasses Kherson all the way over here. There we go. And you guys can see my mouse, so that's good, right? So that's basically what's going on. The over in the east, around Kharkiv and Luhansk and Donetsk, right? Um, yeah, they're just trying to regroup. So uh, basically, they've been pushed out of Sumy, right? They've been pushed all the way back. Um, and then right here around Kharkiv, they've taken most of this territory back, and now they pushed into Kherson, almost 40 kilometers from the known lines, is where the Ukrainian assault is happening. So, if they keep up this pattern, right? Because you have to look at patterns of how the battlefield keeps moving and where the pressure points are. It looks like that around Luhansk, the Russian forces are going to be able to push forward and probably take right along this axis here where you see my mouse going, right? And at the same time, they're basically going to get cut off right here along like this basically invisible line connecting this circle here to here is what it looks like. So Russia is making progress here, but they're losing ground to the northeast and to the southeast. And if they continue, they push in on Kherson, they'll go ahead and they'll take this entire area here, and it'll become a bloodbath right where you see this big blue blotch um, of striped lines, which this is a conflict area, an active conflict area from indirect fire and artillery. So yeah. Anyway, excuse me. Um, but the thing is that the Russians have had a real hard time reconstituting their forces in and around Crimea. Even though they've had absolute control of it, they have control of the ports and they have control of the bridge, and the bridge is still intact. So the bridge between Russia and the Crimean Peninsula is still intact. It just doesn't have enough capacity to allow them to bring in across supplies to supply the units here in the south, and so they're still struggling with logistical support. They're still struggling reconstituting their damaged BTGs, and they're just getting pounded by the Ukrainians, just pounded. And as I was saying, also today, uh, the Ukrainian military announced that they have 200 soldiers that are now fully trained in the howitzers provided to them by the U.S. military. Um, that's really going to allow them to push here in the east and push forward. They have over 200, and that was a joint training between the U.S. and the Ukrainian government, apparently. So those soldiers are on their way to the battlefield along with their artillery pieces. Um, Artillery is usually crewed by three, depends on which military you are, but 3 or 4 man teams. So if you have 200, that means about 50 pieces of artillery, right? Roundabout. So that's going to make a huge difference because before, when they were fighting up here around Kiev, this is heavily wooded, heavily forested. It's quite hilly. For Ukraine, Ukraine doesn't have a lot of hills. Okay, it's pretty flat land, but it up here around Kharkiv, it was very soft land, lots of forests, lots of hills, lots of terrain. Over here in the east, it's really flat. Okay, it's really a lot of farmland and just really flat lands, and it really lends itself to mechanized fighting at a distance, right? So it's really, yes, newer artillery. Yes, they're M77 or M777. I'll have to look it up. The howitzers, but they are modern artillery pieces as far as I am aware. So, um, but yeah. So, anyways, but basically, the Pentagon released today that basically there's been an incredible effort in the last 48 hours. There has been a push into the Donbass region down here in the south, east, right around here, and in this conflicted area you see. Um, uh, and they called Russia's progress anemic, right? So Russia is not doing very well. They're losing generals. They're losing high command staff. Their soldiers continue to be stricken by low morale. And when you watch high level officers, even if it's a shrapnel wound to his leg, with them hitting the senior general of the entire effort for Ukraine, that has an effect because it means that everybody is reachable. And if they can reach your top general, they can definitely reach you. And that fear of dying and wanting to go home to your family can have a critical effect on on your soldiers and their willingness to fight. So, um, things are doing decently for the Ukrainian military. Not so much for Russia. Again, they have made some progress in the northeast, but they've really been slammed everywhere else. All right, so moving forward. Um, Also, the United States military has delivered 80% of the howitzers that they promised. So that's another thing that's a positive. So, all right. Excuse me. I apologize, guys. Um, Also, in the last hour or so, a lot of explosions have been seen over Belgrade and Russia tonight again. Um, and let's see. I think that's about it, guys. I think that's most of it that we have for that. So, on to our next subject. Sergei Lavrov opened his mouth and stuck his foot in it again, and pissed off Israel. So Israel has been kind of on the fence, and there's been an uproar about how they seem to have information before other people from the Russians, and sort of their ties to Russia and how close they are. And there's some questions there, especially given that the United States military has basically bankrolled their entire Air Force and military training. Um, so basically, Mr. Lavrov decided to claim that Hitler was part Jewish while trying to attack Vladimir Zelensky. So here it is, reported by the BBC.com. Israel has reacted with fury after Russia's foreign minister claimed that Nazi leader Adolf Hitler had Jewish blood. Sergei Lavrov made the comments to try to justify Russia's portrayal of Ukraine as Nazi, despite the fact that its president is Jewish. Israel's foreign minister summoned Russia's ambassador for clarification and demanded an apology. Nazi Germany murdered 6 million Jews in the Holocaust and World War II. Mr. Lavrov made the remarks in an interview on Italian TV program Zona Bianca on Sunday, days after Israel marked Holocaust Remembrance Day, one of the most solemn occasions in the Israeli calendar. When asked how Russia can claim that it's fighting to denazify Ukraine when President Vladimir Zelensky is himself Jewish and from a Jewish family, Mr. Lavrov said, "I could be wrong, but Hitler also had Jewish blood." Uh, he said he is Jewish, referring to that Zelensky is Jewish, means nothing. Wise Jewish people say that the most ardent anti Semites are usually Jews. Yeah, I'm not sure this man can get any more like tone deaf. I don't even know what to say about this. Oh man. So I can hear you. Nope, just your logo. I see it now. Okay, cool. All right. So anybody got any input on this? Because I don't even know what to say here. Like, do you guys really think they're this tone deaf? That they just have no idea like how much these statements are going to harm them on the international stage. Like if they're trying to, I mean, they're already demonized in the West, and for good reason, I think, in my personal opinion. And there are many people who may disagree with me, but for the most part, that's my 2 cents. I just don't know what they think they're winning. They continue to bluster and to make declarative statements that aren't in their best interest. They're not playing for the PR game, and they're just saying fuck it. I don't know what else to say about it. I don't know how to put it any other way. They're just inept, uh, their incapability to handle relations with the media and interacting with other international leaders in a adept manner is just it's dumbfounding to me because this is your entire job. You are a politician. You are an international ambassador. You are, the people who are supposed to be representing the Russian people to the world, and you continue to just beat yourself and embarrass yourself and make harmful statements and attack people who you don't need to attack that aren't attacking you, but making aggressive statements. It's just yeah, exactly. He's like, so Luna's like, yeah, he's like, this may not be true, but I'm gonna say it anyways. Like, no, just don't. Like, think about what you're gonna say, and then say it if you really feel the need to, right? But ask yourself, what value is this going to add to the conversation, and how can this harm me? Those are two questions when you're in the game of politics and international diplomacy. You're a diplomat. You should ask yourself those two questions because they're very important. You know, Dusel, you just mic up on purpose, and no,
No, I just unmuted.
I got you.
Let's go back.
Well, understood. Just sitting here talking about Lavrov talking about that that Hitler has had Jewish blood. Yeah, this man is insane. I just don't get him, man. I just don't get him.
It's looking like they're lost their end plan completely.
Yeah. So it says the Israel. So continuing on, the Israeli prime minister said, "Such lies are meant to blame the Jews themselves for the most terrible crimes in history, and thus free the oppressors of the Jews from responsibility." And I mean, he's just getting eaten alive. Like, yo, Israel was like toeing the fence, right? They were toeing the fence, and you're making an enemy out of the one close ally we had that was kind of in between, that
Right.
was trying to hold on to their close ties to Russia and Israel. I really don't get it, you guys. I do think it's all falling apart, right? So I was just talking about they've besides the Northeast, they've lost major ground everywhere else. Huge offensives going on. I'm gonna go back to here. So down here around Kherson, basically the Ukrainian military is in active conflict all the way around Kherson and has pushed 40 kilometers into this area. Right, they've basically retaken all of Kharkiv. They've pushed you out of Sumy in the north, and they've basically started artillery battering this entire area down here where the blue cross shade is. Right, and if this keeps up, they're going to be right on the doorstep of Crimea, and they might be able to retake Crimea. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. And the Russians need to find a win. Like right now, their forces are so they have to find a win, and they have to stop beating themselves in the face. I'm not cheering for them. I personally don't want them to win. I don't want that to come across. But when you're thinking of things from both sides, you gotta think about, well, how would I play this if I were them? I wouldn't have attacked Ukraine in the first place, but if I were them in this position, I would be looking for a win, right? Maybe make the trade for Donetsk and Luhansk and give back this entire southern area and cease operations down here. And show good faith, pull your forces back to the eastern side entirely, get out of the south, um, and offer a sharing agreement around Crimea. That's a win, right? You get to have your these parts stay a part of Ukraine, but they operate as maybe independent city states, right? Russia removes all their forces from them in agreement and allow, I don't know, UN peacekeeping forces to be the only military station into these areas, right? And then land sharing agreement around Crimea. You get the independent Luhansk and Donbass, right, while still not breaking them away from Ukraine. You get to ensure security of that agreement, and you don't lose your warm water port, right? Solves all the problems. But I honestly think that Russia's entire objective here is to take Ukraine. I don't think they're going to settle for any less. They might settle. I think I said they're going to try to take a third of the country, and I still hold that. I think they're going to try to take the a third of the eastern part of Ukraine and move across to create a land bridge all the way to Trinitsa, or I'll figure out one day how to say that word. So, well, moving forward. All right, so we covered both these. We know what the situation is. Artillery's been trained up. Things are going to get interesting over the next few days, but it's going to be slow moving probably for the next 24 to 48 hours, and then it's going to really pick up. But the big kisser of today is that apparently Putin's going to undergo cancer surgery, man. Did you know about this? You see this?
I
Yeah.
did not. That's surprising. Like, is that maybe why he's getting more desperate to try to see it out before he goes, you think?
I don't know. So at first I thought they were pushing for their victory day or whatever, right? But they're not going to get victory before they have 6 days. That shit ain't happening.
Yeah.
So
Okay, so that's probably why it went to my bad.
yeah.
No, I
But
was gonna say that's probably why they were gonna mobilize.
mhm. Why they're going to mobilize what?
But so like on I forgot where I saw it. Let me see if it's still on my history.
Yeah, they're talking about while you look that up, just let me know when you get it up. But they're talking about transferring power to this ex-FSB agent, and this is sort of off-putting because the guy we thought that he was going to pass power on is not the person he's letting handle, which is excuse me, which is Mikhailovich, or I think it's Mikhailovich, is how it's pronounced. Like that's the guy we thought, but apparently he's handing it over to Khrushchev, and that's odd. Um, it's just interesting. So
Okay, so they're gonna try to make it, I pulled it up. It says Kremlin could call upon all able men in final push against Ukraine during the victory parade on May 9th.
yeah, yeah,
That's what
yeah.
it was.
Okay. Yeah, I think that he's desperate to get this over with. I mean, it's costing him a lot of money. And if things continue to go the way the way they should if everybody follows their sanctions and actually does what they're supposed to. Um, they're going to run out of money to continue to fund this war very, very soon, probably in the next 2 to 3 months. So they have to find something. That sucked. They have to find something, you know. They have to find a win. As I was saying, Russia has to find a win here. What do they define as a win? How what can they take and shift and make seem a win if they're going to exit in a timely manner? Because otherwise, they're just going to be stuck and they're going to run out of money, and that's going to be even worse. Um, and this is what we were talking about. I mean, their highest ranking general almost got his ass killed. You know, um, and
After what,
the
3 already
Ukrainian,
gone?
yeah, the Ukraine's intelligence was new enough to know that he was there, and they almost got him. He got shrapnel to his leg. Um, but yeah, he was there to quote unquote try to change the course for their basically lackluster offensive, and I think that it damaged the troops' morale even more. But with you losing general after general after general, and everybody's like, "Oh, they have a ton of general." No, they have about the same amount of generals as the U.S. military does per capita, and it's less than 1% of their military. So when you lose 10 of them, it's kind of a big deal. Um, and when your highest ranking one takes shrapnel to the leg because they almost got him, like
You're
that
not gonna
shows
feel
that
too good about that.
yeah, there's no way you feel too good about that, right? Like imagine like this is super secret, like, and somehow they knew about it and were able to target them. Like it's one thing to target like stationary targets, right? But these are mobile targets, and dynamic targeting, right? So it's one thing to target static, buildings or energy plants, stuff like that, stuff that doesn't move. But to be able to target a general who was on a top secret, trip to the front line that was on the move and being able to lay down dynamic fire based on intelligence is just it shows a level of infiltration into the Russian military from the Ukrainian forces that I think is unprecedented. You know, it's craziness. Hmm.
And wouldn't that like build on or distrust between the troops that like they don't suspect someone is actually theirs on their side?
It would for me. Like if I'm sitting here and I know that, like, let's say, so General Batiste, right, was over uh, the First Infantry Division during OIF 2, right? If he showed up in theater, and the moment he showed up in theater, about an hour and a half later, all of a sudden we had artillery fire coming down on all close to near his exact position, that takes out a bunch of high level military staff and another general and almost kills him. I'd be questioning the guys beside me. I mean, and if you don't trust the guy that's beside you, you know, to have your back, it affects your combat effectiveness as a unit, because in the military, especially in combat arms, unit cohesion, as it's referred to, is really important. Being able to trust the guy next to you, being able to click, get those gears running, and work together. And because Russia also lacks a non-commissioned officer corps, right? The initiative is really lacking in the enlisted side, and so it's mainly up to the officers. And when you see officers just getting taken out left and right, and these are supposed to be the guys who are commanding you and who are supposed to be kind of untouchable for the most part, and you don't know who's giving up this information, you don't know how the Ukrainians are finding out, but time after time after time after time, anytime that someone high level visits or you have a large movement for an attack, all of a sudden they randomly have intelligence around it and start hitting your positions. You start to question the guy next to you, and that affects your cohesion. If you're not a cohesive unit, you don't commit to tactical operations appropriately, which means that when you press, people aren't in the fight, and when they're not in the fight, you're not effective, and when you're not effective, you get your ass kicked. It's that simple. Like I'd be questioning, damn sure. Um, Around 200 Russian troops were killed in the shelling, um, and that's the general. They've confirmed this since then. Um, so yeah, they lost another general and a lot of high level staff, majors, lieutenant colonels, and colonels. All right. So that's all we got for international today, boys. Let's see. Let's see what our comments are over here in the Discord and on the stream. I need to drag this up and put this on the other thing. Not really the best. Oh, he wants to make. Okay, so Isabella says he wants to make history by a win before he dies. I think she's talking about Putin. Maybe. I think that he wants to try to see a reformation of the USSR. I think that's one of his goals. You think you flooded? It's okay. I wish more people were active like you were. It's okay. We got 14 viewers. We got one person talking, man. So but I'll take it. I'll take it. So um says they will end up being suspicious of their partners. Absolutely. And again, if you can't trust the man next to you, you're not going to be thinking about the mission. You're going to be thinking about staying alive and watching your own back. You have to be able to trust the men beside you to watch your back. Like I can't imagine the combat zone was stressful enough without having to worry about is the guy beside me Ukrainian spy who's going to shoot me in the back of the head, you know. No, you're good, Gutsy. You're good. Yeah, but welcome. No, I appreciate it, man. I said, hey, at least you guys are here. So, no, if you got to think about it in those types of terms, and I know it's difficult sometimes for people. So, is what it is. Let's see. Oh, someone. Oh, that's my notifications from Telegram. I need to cut those off. All right, so on to U.S. news, guys. So we have some interesting things that I wish we had more people in here to have a conversation about, but it's okay. So basically, the Missouri AG is going to investigate school district for giving students as young as 4 surveys that quiz them on race, sexual orientation, and their parents' political beliefs. Hmm.
I,
Go ahead.
it's so strange. Like, what does it have to do with school?
I don't know, and especially this last part, their parents' political beliefs, right? Because there's been some issues where school boards have targeted certain parental groups because of their political or religious beliefs. So recently, that's gotten them in some trouble. But yeah, what does this have to do with reading, writing, math, and my teachers never asked me about my sexual orientation, and I just I know this is a sensitive subject for some people, but I don't know where we're getting at with this, and that's why I wish we had a more balanced view. Because I think a lot of us who have been around for a while with me know that my view is that this is something that belongs in the home, is up to the parents, and that I don't think schools are failing to teach kids to read. Okay, right now they did testing and the numbers were abysmal. Less than a quarter of kids before the ninth grade are reading or writing or doing math at grade level. Less than 26%. Why are we focused on this? I understand that there are people who may have issues, but this is for the parents to deal with, private psychologists. Now, if a child goes to the counselor and talks about an issue they may have, then that's fine. But one, it shouldn't be hidden from the parent. And why does a parent's political belief matter? It's there seems to be no other reason to collect this information than other than to attack the parents or to strategize ways to get around the parents because you associate certain political beliefs with certain views. And no matter what, these aren't your children if you're a teacher. These are the children that belong to their parents. They don't belong to the school system.
Okay.
It's can we think of control looks like Russia's way of control? They classify people, families. Exactly. It's just a form of classification. And I hate to say it, but that's what's been going on. That's the entire purpose of intersectional uh, identity politics and intersectionalism, right? Um, is to create groups and groupings and othering people who don't align with the groups that you agree are important. This has to stop, right? And like it's literally against the law. Law prohibits students from being questioned without parental permission, right? Webster, and here's the biggest part: Webster Grove School District won't say who it shares the answers with.
Oh, stuff.
Like I don't care what side of the political spectrum you're on. When a school district that is supposed to serve you, the taxpayer, you pay taxes in that county, you pay taxes in those cities, you pay taxes in those states, and those dollars fund your local school district. The school district answers to you, right? And for them to say to parents, we're not going to share with you who we share this information with, private information that has to deal with deeply personal things such as your political and religious beliefs and your child's sexual orientation, and they're not going to tell you who they're sharing that with. Like, that's, I'm sorry, that's absolutely violating of the trust given and the duty you've been entrusted with as a teacher. Right? Period. I don't understand how anyone could think that this is acceptable. So, um, and I think if we're gonna if the left or other people, and this is a left issue, okay, these are people who are on the left, and unfortunately, a majority of people who are teachers and in school administration are on the left, and this is a leftist ideology that's causing this. And this is coming from a lifelong Democrat. I just became independent a few years ago, right? This is unacceptable. Period. If you're going to say that it's okay for the state to basically take a captive audience that is not able to give consent and ask them deeply personal questions and spy on their families' personal beliefs, and that's what that is. This is the government asking personal questions that a normal person probably wouldn't talk to them about, okay? But giving it to their children who can't consent to do this questioning, all right? And it's against the law to do this questioning, and having them give you that information and then cataloging it and refusing to acknowledge who you're giving it to. This is no different. A lot of you like to make comparisons to the Nazis and Jews. This is no different than when children in grade school were asked if they knew families who were Jewish, who was Jewish, right? Who wasn't Jewish, who was mixed, who had genetic defects in their family, if they knew anyone, right? Did they personally have feelings of being gay, or that they liked people outside of their race, or that they liked Jewish people, right? This is what it's remindful of. And I'm not saying you guys are trying to wipe out people who are politically disagree. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that the similarities here of the level of violation of personal trust, right? And the othering of people is what brings these concerns along, because they can relate it to things like this. And it seems to those people who are in the right center and the right as if this is what you're doing. You're not helping your cause. If you're trying to bring people to your cause, right, and have that conversation and bring forward your political beliefs, you do not do this by violating something that these people hold sacred: their privacy and their family and family doctrine. Okay? These things are core beliefs to the right. Okay? And when you do these things, you damage that and make them feel as if it's under attack, and you will not get anywhere. I don't know what you're trying to get with this. Isabella Gall says, I was on the school board of my son's school. I was a preschool teacher too. Absolutely. I think Isa was also a preschool teacher, you know. But this has to stop, guys. Like, this is ridiculous. The Southeastern Legal Foundation lawyer Kimberly Herman said that the new lessons have a tendency to edge out the traditional curriculum. What it really amounts to is racial programming. Teaching kids as young as 4 years old can pick their gender. All right, so the article starts off. I'll get off my soapbox now. The Webster Grove School District in Missouri is under fire for violating state and federal privacy laws by subjecting students to probing surveys about political beliefs and affiliations, gender, sexual orientation, and mental health status. Personal medical a child doesn't know they're not supposed to give up their personal medical information, or that they're
And the
not
HIPAA law.
required to. Yeah, this is definitely HIPAA. but it's a personal disclosure. So they're basically getting by. They're asking him a question. They're not telling him, okay, so you're in an authoritative position as a school, okay? You have authority. All right. When you ask a child a question, they assume that they have to answer it. It's the same thing that police do that you guys argue against. Oh, you don't have to tell them anything. Even if they say it like it's a requirement for you to tell them, you don't have to tell them anything. You know how you guys preach about that? Well, children don't understand this concept when as teachers. They're supposed to be able to trust them, and now you're tricking them into giving their personal medical information about their mental health to you. Just evil, right? So, Attorney General Eric Schmidt on Monday agreed to investigate the issue after being alerted to the practice by the Southeast Legal Foundation, which was retained by Webster Grove's parents after they learned of the practice. We appreciate the Southeast Legal Foundation for bringing their concerns to the office, and we have received similar allegations in districts across the state. Missouri Attorney General spokesman Chris Newell said in an email. Why is the okay? So then this seems to be a problem across the state. Why are superintendents allowed to instantiate programs like this where they know the question? There was a process that we went through whenever we wanted to change something inside of large corporations, which school systems are, where we had to run the shit through legal, right? Why are our school systems not required to do that? I don't know, but we'll move on. We've all been working diligently to empower parents and return transparency to Missouri schools. We are currently closely reviewing the information contained in that letter and the information in other districts, and we will take action wherever possible. Oh my God. Okay, so let's see. It's Missouri is very, yeah, that's the other thing I'm thinking. Like Missouri, you chose one hell of a state to do this in. Like it's hella conservative. You knew they would come for you. Hello, we are the students from blank class. We are taking the data from responses to try and raise awareness and solve uh, LGBTQIA plus related struggles here at. We would like to make this a more inclusive school. And see, they're playing on that positivity that everybody wants to get along. No one wants someone to feel othered, right? A 9-year-old doesn't know about their sexuality. All right. My daughter, for example, wanted short boy hair, played with Ninja Turtles. She had a good mix because I kind of forced it, but she also liked My Little Ponies. But she liked a lot of boy stuff, and she's been a tomboy her whole life. Guess what? She still likes boys. Now, before she thought boys were gross and ooey, and she thought she likes girls because she thought they were pretty, right? And if she thought girls were pretty, then that meant she was gay, right? And I had to explain to her that that's not how gay works. That's how this can be confusing, because my daughter was absolutely the definition of tomboy. Fucking amazing. Loved her to death. Like, to the point where, I'm going to get into story time here. My daughter was in kindergarten, and a kid kept pulling her ponytail, and she told him to stop. And she went up to the teacher, and the teacher told him to stop, and she said, don't do it again. And the little boy came up, and because she was playing soccer, and she was better at him than soccer, and was getting irritated, she had gotten the ball from him, so he pulled her hair again. She turns around and punches him in the nose, right? And this kid goes crying to his parents, and we come to the office, right? And I get there, and they have like the video from the playground or whatever. Like, yeah, your daughter, so we'd like you to, talk to her and discipline her. I'm like, no, not disciplining my daughter. It's like, he kept harassing her. He kept physically assaulting her. She did the right thing. She told the kid, I was like, I'm going to take her out for pizza after this. And they called DSS on me. Said that I was encouraging violence. No, I'm encouraging my daughter to stand up for herself. So we should use words. I mean, this kid had done it repetitively. She told him multiple times to stop, went to the teacher. Teacher told him to stop. He continued to do it just because he was upset, and he was yanking her hair. And the teacher was, you can see in the video, the teacher was sitting there watching it. No, it's fine. Yeah, I mean, she punched him once in the nose and told him to stop. Because, like, the last one, like, he yanked her to the point, like, he yanked her back. No, you're good. I don't wear my teacher's cap. It's all good. I get it. I tell her not to but like, yo, but like, that example is, but my daughter was like rough and tumble, played boys sports, all that good stuff. She's not trans. She likes boys now. But she got confused by all the things she was being told because she thought just because she thought girls were pretty, that meant she was gay. Like, I'm sorry, you're not going to get me to agree with this.
Yeah, like if she was like whenever she talked about that, or if she said she felt like that, then you talked with her at home, like it wasn't in school, like she got talked to by the teachers.
This is sad. What was that? I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I'm saying like when she came to you and talked to you about like how she thinks she likes girls and how you explained to her that's not what gay is, like that's at home between you two. Like she approached
Yeah,
you didn't try to like teach her
yeah.
what all this is.
And I asked her what brought up these questions. She was like, "Well, the teacher was talking to me about, when you like boys, you're straight, and when you like girls and you're a girl, then you're gay." And I'm like, "Oh my god." And of course, the teachers are skirting around what it's really about, right? So, um, it's a difficult, but like I'm sorry, I just saw this picture and it says my identity journal task 10, and it says not everyone is the same race or ethnicity. That's what makes our world and people in it unique. Uh, blah blah blah. It basically says you to identify your race, and the kid circled white, right? And it said, what is the first time you noticed people can be different races from you? What did you notice? He put now. Like, the kid had no concept.
No.
No concept, y'all. Come.
That's a good thing about kids, they see everyone as equal.
Yeah, exactly. Like high school and stuff. Yeah, but what? This kid can barely write. He's on the big line still. Like,
He has no
yeah,
concept of anything.
yeah. Like, come on,
I don't think they
guys.
have critical thinking yet at that point.
Yeah, like critical thinking doesn't come until you're like 10, 11, where you start to get into like actual critical thinking and comparison and stuff and all that good stuff. And now we're teaching people not to critical think. If you don't accept this, you're racist or you're sexist. So don't think about it. Just accept what we tell you, right? And that's the other problem I have. The thing is the left used to be about, free speech and the First Amendment and, freedom to choose and be who you are, and sticking up for the little guy, and like now we got people shouting to support big pharma. When did the left start supporting super huge corporations? Like, mind blown. Anyways, all right. So it says the foundation sent a 23 letter page letter to the state's top lawyer outlining a cat and mouse game in which Webster Groves and other districts purchase surveys for civics classes and other general student questionnaires from education companies that they then turn around and sell expensive lesson plans to address the problems the surveys have uncovered. They are very lucrative contracts, Foundation lawyer said. Although Herman said she did not have information on how much Webster Grove is paying Panorama, the survey firm, another district, Springfield Public Schools, pays $60,000 a year. She said Fairfax County Public Schools in Virginia pays a firm $2.4 million annually for curriculum correction to address the issues uncovered in these surveys. Federal law does not allow the collection of this information without parental consent.
Yeah. You're supposed to go to school to learn to read
I
and
didn't
write
know
and
that.
go up from there.
I didn't know that, Isa. I just put that together. Cool. Stop your peyote, my friend. Listen, names are entirely different. So, federal law does not allow the collection of this information without parental consent. The Webster Groves District School District does not immediately respond to a call left for comment. Herman said that the new lessons have a tendency to edge out the traditional curriculum. What it really amounts to is racial programming and teaching kids as young as 4 years old that they can pick their gender. How confident are you that students at your school can have honest conversations with each other about race. At your school, how often are you encouraged to think more deeply about racial-related topics? Why is it a focus for 4th and 5th graders? High school, sure, right, with parental consent, but this doesn't need to be a thing. Now we're getting to the
Because
bottom
I
of this.
remember.
What was that for, Sal? I'm trying to understand. You mean like the bottom of the article, or yeah, they can't say no, and the kids trust that you're coming from a. So Luna Girl says it's taking advantage of kids because those kids can't say no. It's so sad. It absolutely is so sad. Like, this is racial indoctrination and teaching intersectionalism and racial politics from a very specific viewpoint to children. And the idea that you're having conversations with kids about sexuality without their parents' knowledge or consent and telling them not to talk to their parents about them is wrong. Okay? This whole don't say gay bill, you also can't say anything about straight. Okay? But it doesn't even say you can't say gay. It doesn't say you can't say straight. It literally says that you cannot have conversations about sexually charged items with children. That's the Florida's law, guys. And it was made to address shit like this. You guys, oh, it's fixing a problem that doesn't exist. Clearly it does. Clearly it does. As much as I think it's sad that we have to make a law to tell people that you shouldn't have conversations about sex and sexual orientation with children that aren't even in middle school yet, this is proof of why we need to. And if you think children want to fit in, and if they think, and they also want to be cool, they want to be the popular other, right? And with the popularization of something that is less than 1%, that is less than 1.5% of the entire population of the United States, and teaching that as the norm, where literally there's a difference between something being okay and something being normalized. And just because something is not normal or is not normalized does not mean it's wrong. And there's this use of words. Oh, you're saying I'm abnormal? And no one wants to tell another person they're abnormal. So we make someone feel guilty and berate them into agreeing with us. Yeah, being trans is not the norm. Being gender fluid is not the norm. It's okay if you're those things, but they're not the norm. And we present an overemphasis on it versus what is a majority of the population. It's just that simple. It's nothing about that. As I've said multiple times, I don't care what your sexuality is, what your race is. If you are a human being, you intrinsically have value as a human being. Period. And you deserve all the same rights as every other human being on the planet when it comes to government and the law. And you should be treated fairly and the same as others. At the same time, your personal beliefs, your personal identity, you should not be able to force someone to participate in those. Okay? Just like someone can't force you to participate in their Christian identity, no one should be forced to participate in your gender identity or your personal identity. I can't force you to say God's real. Why should I be forced to say you're a woman even though you're biologically a man? Now, I'll address you by your name because I think names are important. If you chose to go by a specific name, absolutely. But we are conflating gender with sex at this point, where we now have sports have always been separated by gender. And the argument was always in gender theory that gender was separate from sex, and we would never think about gender is absolutely a binary outside of the 0.08% people born intersex, which even those you can clearly tell most of the time what sex they are, right? And this is just speaking from facts, and I can provide all of the references necessary, and I'll do that at the end of this. I'm not sure how we got here. And so now you're erasing, what it means to be female. If anybody can be a woman, what is a woman, right? And I've always asked this question. If you can't define it, right? And then people have started, when you start asking the question to define what these things are and give me so, because if you don't have a definition for something, how can we have a conversation about it? If you can't define for me what something is, how can we have a conversation about it? Right. And so now you ostracize people for saying, hey, I don't care how many biological sex is important. I'm fine with the whole gender thing. But now we conflate the two because we continue, oh, this person's a woman. And then, oh, first female admiral. Guess what? That admiral was a male up until they were a full bird colonel. You took that away from a woman who's been a woman all of her life and struggled with female struggle and gave it to someone who is a transgender woman who has been a male most of their life. And I think there's something sad in that. And I'm going to move on from this hot button subject, but this is where we're at. And this is where we're at in the United States, you know?
Because don't
Yeah,
women usually
exactly,
like,
exactly, Luna. That's a great way to put it. I'm sorry, man. 1 second. Uh,
no, you're good.
don't put that on me to conform to your ideas. Just like I don't force Christianity on you, you shouldn't push your beliefs on me. You know, I'm heavily Christian, right? I believe God is an amazing and wonderful thing, and He has touched my life. And there's no other way I can explain the way I've statistically beat the odds. But I'm not going to force that on you. If you can believe what you want to do, and you can say derogatory things about my God and about my religion, and I'll respect your right to do that. I'll disagree with you, but I'll do it from a position of empathy, all right, and personal conviction, while still respecting you and showing you respect as a human being. No, I have a friend who's trans. He's fucking great. I just disagree with his lifestyle, and he knows it. And we don't have to agree about that to be friends. Period. It's not. I don't. I disagree with his lifestyle. I just disagree with the ideology behind it. Right. And I think it's entirely different than being gay. And there's numbers behind that. We can have that conversation some other time once I look at the YouTube TOS, so I can make sure I'm not stepping over it too much. Too hot. Too hot. Too hot. Too hot for you, baby. All right, moving on. Schools need to get back to teaching math and how to read, not asking about gender identity or Planned Parent. Okay, that's sort of a low blow. Like this right here. See, you took it the other direction. Where does Planned Parenthood come into this conversation? This is why we derail people. This is why we can't have logical conversations with each other. That right there. Planned Parenthood had nothing to do with this conversation, guys. Um, These are conversations for parents to have with their children at an appropriate age. Schools shouldn't be asking these kinds of questions in the first place. It's outrageous that they're doing so and not even telling parents. She declined to make her clients available to speak for fear of reprisals against them or their children by the school district. She also said the questionnaires are not anonymous, but it's unclear who sees the answers and who knows how the students filled them out. It's unclear what information is used for and how to access it. The questions ask about political ideology of the students and their parents, asking them to label them conservative, liberal, or moderate. They are quizzed on which Congress member they are most closely aligned. Whoa. Guys, you can't tell me this isn't being. The only reason I ask these questions is for political. Um, is for political. Is for creating political numbers around it. Political surveys serve one point: to figure out political affiliation and to target demographics politically and uh, basically create the most fitting um, curriculum to sway the most people out of these groups. I guarantee you these questions affect how they teach the ideology in order to push you. And I guarantee you if you read it, it probably pushes you to the left. Isabella, I have the impression to be at a conference where we interact with the speaker. Drop it like it's hot. Drop it like it's hot. I mean, Isabella, I think that's a great thing. It's this is that's what it's supposed to be. This is supposed to be a conversation. I wish we had a like the first day when we had the first one. I wish it could have been live because we had great conversation. There were a lot of people in here. Hopefully, we can get back to that.
Um, So I found the website.
The next image, the caption, it says, "What students are pressed to say which political area do they and their parents are." What was that about? You said students are pressed to say which elective they most likely. Um, Questions asked about the political ideology of the parents. Man, that's crazy. Oh, what? No way. I'm sorry, guys. I didn't read this before this. This is like my first time reading through this with you guys. I knew the overall gist. How? How? Even when I was the most liberal and I was considered very liberal and progressive by my friends before the windows shifted. How do you find this is what I was talking about? I didn't know about this when I was talking about like you're in a position of authority. Children assume that they have to do this, but it's not even that anymore. You literally force them to. Like I'm sad right now. Like I'm getting like this is fucked up. How are you doing this to children? Pressing them to answer really personal questions, and if they're uncomfortable with it, aren't we supposed to be? Isn't the left supposed to be the ones who worry about what you're comfortable with, making sure that your boundaries are respected, that you don't feel pressured to be or do something to be something you aren't or not to do something you don't want to do about consent. This right here, if you don't consent to do this and do it, you're going to be punished. Isn't I'm trying to find words here to keep this within the boundaries of the YouTube TOS. So I apologize. I'm kind of hot right now. Like this is the exact thing that you say you're against, except you're only against it when it fits the narrative you want or the political leaning you want or the situation you want or the thing that empowers the views you have. This is wrong. This is intimidation. This is forced persuasion. This is literally the same thing as someone pressuring you for sex. Except you're pressuring children to answer severely personal questions about themselves and their families, even if they're not comfortable. And if they don't do it, you're going to punish them and take away something from them and get them in trouble. Fucking sad. And it's illegal anyways. But then if they don't do the thing that is already illegal for to be done to children, and that you're not supposed to be asking in the first place, you're going to get them in trouble with their parents. Questions about public funding for abortion, their stance on the death penalty, prayer in school, mental problems, sexual behavior, and other questions are also in the survey.
Isn't it separation of church and state though?
Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. Like, I assume that they had conversations about religion. That's why I stuck it in there, religious beliefs. But it just goes to show I was right. Sexual behavior. What questions are you questioning children about sexual behavior? Guys, I am a centrist, a left leaning centrist. And this to me is infuriating and sad. What happened to the right of family's privacy? You're using children to snitch on their parents. Except there's nothing to snitch about. These are private, personal choices that are very private. Period. I don't know how else to put it. I know I said private 3 times there, but I just don't know how to put it. Like, these are things that are none of your motherfucking business. Like, why are we having these conversations about this? Lord Jesus, man. I'm sorry. We're gonna move on from this subject, but I'm just disappointed, and we'll try to come back and circle back to something a little bit more endearing because this just has me hot and livid right now. Yeah, absolutely. Especially when we won't say who doesn't get who gets the answers, and it's forming curriculum. All right, on to other news, guys. Off of that subject, because that's some heavy and deep shit. FCC applauds Elon Musk for his $44 billion Twitter deal. Agency welcomes the billionaire's plan to ease free speech and says it would be un-American for any arm of the government to block the sale. Isabel Legal, as soon they will ask kids if their parents went to prison, were accused of crimes. They are labeling the families. That's it. That's the only reason that this serves, is to be able to label and categorize the family for future use against them, and to be able to formulate curriculum based on the answers of the surveys and finding the mean. That way you can place the curriculum there and push whichever direction you want, right? And be able to focus what that curriculum talks about. If someone already agrees with the opinion you think they should have, it just won't be as heavily focused on in the curriculum. It's crazy. Trump appointed FCC Commissioner Nathan Sigman issued a press release dismissing requests for the agency to stop Elon Musk from acquiring Twitter. The FCC cannot and should not block the sale. We should instead Mr. Musk for doing something about a serious problem. It would not only be unconstitutional, but plainly un-American for any arm of the government to act against Twitter or Mr. Musk for such a purpose. What's this? Yeah, it says. I think I just addressed that. Oh no, absolutely, either side, and I think that both sides are two wings of the same bird. So, and yeah, Isabella, I greatly appreciate your insight. Yeah. Um, Jay the Giant Peach, I'm sorry, I just tuned into this. This is a survey that's given to children. Well, four surveys. What children were they given to? Children as young as in the third and fourth grade. So 8 and 9 year olds.
The one that was right that you written down white in that
Yo,
one, that was a second grader.
let me go back. Yeah, reopen, close tab. Look at this. This kid still writes in the big lines. Okay, second grader. Yeah, as young as second grade. So 7 year olds. Yeah, I had to move on. Like it's super sad. Like the things they were asked about, the things that are being pressed, they're told to hide from their parents, and they're being told if they don't answer these severely personal questions that they're going to be punished. Holy shit! How did I crash to no viewers? There are clearly people here. This is just off. Um,
Yeah, it's showing 12 here.
cool. So right here, the kid said white, but look at what it says. It says when is the first time you noticed that people can be different races from you? What did you notice? Kid wrote now, bro. Like, and again, this is about no matter what side you're on, how do we justify these behaviors? It doesn't matter if you're on the right, it doesn't matter if you're on the left. These are children, and these are deeply personal questions about them and their family. And you're asking children to judge their parents' political leanings when you got to understand that, as I said, most people who are in the uh, education system as teachers and staff members are heavily left leaning, and that's just a fact. It's statistically true. So if that's the person that the children are comparing their parents to, someone who's in the middle is going to seem as if they're conservative when the children maybe have never met a conservative person in their life. So how do they know? But the thing that when you won't tell parents where this data is going to, who is reading this data, who's getting it, this data here is a data. So I do data science, right? I'm a software engineer, and my entire job is to build systems to process huge amounts of data and create data points out of them and create algorithms and cubes so you can slice them. This data right here, I would, as a if I was doing if I had a client who was in politics, I would be salivating over. Okay. And not only that, but you're forcing children. Aren't we supposed to be, and I made the point, aren't we supposed to be, isn't the left supposed to be about consent? Aren't they supposed to be about, you know, you should never be forced to be something you're not, or do something that you don't feel comfortable doing, or be something you're not comfortable being? Apparently that only applies if you're able to give consent. It's just it's mind numbing. Yeah, it made all of our hearts sing. I didn't realize how bad it was, guys. I didn't read this. I thought it was going to be a little bit sensational, and apparently it's worse. And I am so sorry for bringing everybody down. But god damn. Anyways, moving forward. But we were talking about Elon Musk, and the FCC had basically said uh that it would be un-American to block it, and he's not going to block the purchase by Elon Musk. So, um, excuse me. Musk confirmed his mammoth takeover at the end of last month and has vowed to release the shackles woke bosses that put on free speech on the site. It has been met with fury by some who fear the social media giant would further sour if people could post more freely. Lord Jesus. Yeah. I don't know what to say to this man. I'm glad the man has the money to buy Twitter. I think that they're going to lose some staff. They're going to gain some staff. I am all about retaking some of the town squares. I do think that there is a clear bias in our media and in our social media towards one side, and evening that out might not be a bad thing. But everything that he's proposed so far, that if it's legal, it should be allowed, is pretty much already the policy of Twitter. And nobody had a problem when Jeff Bezos bought the Washington Post or the Examiner or um, the Daily Mail. Nobody had a problem with that. So, you know, Elon just wants to have a piece of the pie where a large platform can at least have voices from both sides, no matter how abhorrent you may find them, both on the left and right. And I think that's okay. I don't think that this is nearly as controversial as everyone's trying to make it out, and I don't understand why it's headlines. He's a private citizen using private money to buy a company, take it private, and he's allowing shareholders to still exist within it privately. It's still going to be subject to Section 230, and he's still going to have to apply by the rules. And Apple and Apple and Amazon already said that if he doesn't police speech in a way they find acceptable, they're going to boot him off of their app stores. So, you know, I don't know. I think this isn't real news. I think people are sensationalizing it, and I think other people are using it for political points and politicizing it in a way it doesn't need to be. Elon isn't heavy political. He's very centrist. His views are very centrist. And I mean, this is the man who normalized the electric car. Come on, guys. Me along with other people think it's very doubtful that Trump will get his Twitter back. But honestly, I hope he does. But the more voices, that's the thing. The more voices that we have in the public view, right? The more exactly, Luna. But the more voices that we have in the public square, that we have in the forum to create that balancing act between everybody and create that central. Right now, we have an entire section of the populace missing from something that creates one of the most important narratives in the fabric of our society with young people. Okay. And there's an entire section of that voice that isn't balancing out that view. And that balanced view is very important for young individuals who are forming their ideas, who are forming their opinions, who are forming their ideologies to have, so that they don't, if the spectrum starts in the center and moves to the left, then the window's already in the left. And so you want people not to feel othered as if they're not being excluded, right? This was a big deal. Oh, they're just overreacting. They think that they think their way of life is dying. Well, maybe it is, because you're not allowing them to be heard. If people look on social media and all the places they see their children looking, and they see no one who shares the same views as them, are they not to feel that they're being pushed out of society? That their way of life is not being pushed out of society, not being pushed out of the mainstream? You don't get anywhere by othering people. It's the exact reason why this channel was formed. Othering people doesn't do shit. Calling someone a Nazi, calling someone a white supremacist when you have no real proof of that, just because they disagree with you, doesn't do anything for that. Calling someone a snowflake because they feel that it's important to recognize people for who they are and you disagree with their lifestyle, right, doesn't help your cause. Okay? Calling someone the N word or calling someone a cracker doesn't help you create racial stability if that's what you're fighting for, truly. You other people. And when you ostracize someone, you've cut them off from having any chance to even share some of your views or at least hear you out so they can have a common understanding with you. Yo, Jay the Giant Peach. Yo, as Eminem would say, if the FCC won't let me be, then let me be me. I mean, they tried to shut me down on MTV, but it feels so empty without me. Damn, I keep crashing. What the fuck is going on?
Still at
All right.
13.
Yeah. Um, all right. So, moving on. I don't think this is controversial as everybody said it was, but you know what, guys? We're going to take a quick break. You know, we got another 45 minutes left. We're going to take a quick break and we're going to talk about this next one, which is very interesting to me. And we'll talk a little bit about the Hunter Biden laptop and how it got the New York Post kicked off of Twitter. And contrary to popular belief, guys, I'm not going to get into any of the sides of this conversation. It's just a conversation about where do we think this should go, and how do we determine whether this is actually some form of conspiracy or whether it's just coincidence, and how it seems to be repeating itself, and how we can make sure that if this is coincidence, that this narrative isn't able to be carried and no water is being carried for certain people of specific political persuasions, right? It's not, this is not going to go where you think it's going to go, but we'll be right back. And about, let's say, 20 after. I didn't make the thing. I guess I'm going to have to change it on the fly, guys. Podcast will be right back. I got to remember to remake this. There we go. Boom, boom. All right. And we are back. And I did not forget to transition this time. There we go. Progress. All right. So, a little bit backstory. So, I need to take a moment after the last story. And I just want to point out to everybody that the word I was looking for was coercive, right? Whenever you use your power or authority to harm or punish someone, if they don't do what you want them to do, even if they're uncomfortable with it or don't want to do it, that is coercion. Period. And I think coming from someone you're supposed to trust and who parents are entrusting with their children and our children are supposed to trust, that is severely damaging. And yeah. Now, we're going to talk briefly about something that might be a little controversial. We're just on the controversial topic train tonight. It's all right. Let me read the comments and get caught up. And days after Musk bought Twitter, he wrote on Truth Social on Bat. First post since 221, thought it was funny and a Trump thing to do. The medium is the message, creating a symbiotic relationship. So Jay the Giant Piece says the medium is the message, creating a symbiotic relationship in which the medium influences how the message is perceived. When a girl reads on the, you're saying a message would be perceived differently if the same message was posted on Facebook, Twitter, the Washington Post, etc. The medium is the message. I'm trying to understand. And then Jay the Giant Peach says, no, I'm saying that media is what is making the message and putting their perception into news stories, which impacts the rest of the world. Exactly. News has so much opinion in it these days, and you can see the slant of the person who's writing it. And I remember when journalists used to try to avoid this and be unbiased in the way they presented it. They presented the story, the facts of the story, and they sort of let you decide. And then there was the opinion piece of the paper that sort of made arguments one way or another. And it seems that we've kind of merged the two. Am I getting that right? Is that what I think you're saying, Jay the Giant Peach?
I don't fucking know what I'm
All right.
Where did that come from?
I have no clue.
Someone just came in, queued up, and said, "I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing." The podcast is in voice general here. I'll change it. Boom. It doesn't matter. ABCD is. I think ABCD came in here and accidentally queued up on accident. It's okay. It's all right. um, So moving onward. So here's what happened. So back in the day, the Washington Post broke the story. Hunter Biden apparently left a laptop to be repaired. Never came and got it. The guy realized who it belonged to, had access to the hard drive, and basically turned it over to the FBI. And when he did so, he also had copies of it, and some political rivals decided to get a hold of it. Over 26 profession immediately it was anytime it was squelched on social media, Facebook, Twitter, etc. And the post was banned by Twitter. All right. The post by the post was banned by Twitter. Then the New York Post refused to remove it and then posted again about it and was kicked off of Twitter. Okay. A whole bunch of quote unquote security experts said that it was false Russian propaganda. All right. And carried that narrative. Now, mind you, this was in the most critical months, 3 months before the election. And it's been shown that if people would have known that what was on the Hunter Biden laptop was true, son smoking crack, referring to the big guy, kicking him millions, all these questions around, it seems that Joe Biden and Hunter Biden shared a bank account, that money flowed through it. It's not very clear on what exactly it was going to. There's a lot of legitimate questions to be asked there. This isn't excusing Trump. This conversation isn't about Trump. This conversation is about Biden, okay? And a lot of people try to do whataboutism and, well, what about what about Trump's taxes? I personally am of the opinion every other president in the history has disclosed their taxes. Trump should have also. Okay, we're not that, but that's either here nor there. There are questions around whether or not Joe Biden was interested in his son's business dealings, and this is of import because he said he had no idea. But it's clear from some of the emails that were found on this laptop, along with things that have been found that were deleted. Okay, that there's clear associations that Joe Biden had with his son's business partners, that Joe Biden participated in his son's dealings, helped close some of those negotiations, met with other parties to these business deals at dinners and other things while he was closing these deals. And just all around what seems to be some tomfuckery, okay? And so... Yeah, and actually, Jay the Giant Peach talks about comparing stories about the same subject from a left wing, right wing, and non biased source. So we actually had this conversation the other day, and we talked about an app, and I think ABCD and a few others got the app, and this was in another Discord before this one became bigger, and it shows you literally the same story presented by different news outlets based on their bias, and it's quite interesting, right? And it helps you keep a balanced view of the world around you through the slant. It's quite great. Um, so, but the thing is that it's shown that this would have changed the outcome of the election if this would have been known. All right, for this specific article and this specific thing. Well, last month or so, it came out, and the New York Times and a few others picked up that, oh yeah, we verified it. The New York Times is verified that yeah, this was real, right? And um, don't read that aloud. Don't want it to taint your podcast. I don't know what you're talking about, but it's fine. Um, so basically, at the end of the day, let's bring this down some. Hold on. I need to fix the way this is presenting. Give me 1 second, guys. Um, go ahead and Alt Shift this up a little bit. Bring this down. Boom, boom. That's all I got, guys. My screen's too big. That's what she said. All right. Anyways, so basically, um, the Hunter Biden laptop, that's what it was about. And so um, now it comes to light that basically a Russian oligarch with close ties to Putin met with Hunter Biden in Moscow about an investment deal before meeting twice more in New York and DC. And for some reason, this specific oligarch, even though he has clear ties to Putin, was left out of U.S. sanctions. He's sanctioned in the UK. He's sanctioned by the EU, but for some reason, he was left out, right? Yeah, Forcell. We're gonna not talk about the email scandal either. Like, I think that there's some questionability around that too. If a soldier would have had classified information in an unsecured computer in their closet, in their bathroom closet at their house, it would have been a different outcome. But we're not gonna go there. Okay. Um, and agreed, it did have somewhat of a chilling effect. I can agree with that. Um, so moving forward, um, basically the idea is that uh, Hunter Biden's own business partner said that the big guy, when referenced inside of emails, was referring to Joe Biden. So there were some legitimate questions, no matter what side you're on, and we should hold our political leaders to account. Is my idea. I don't care what side you're on. If there's questions that our presidents might have shady business dealing, I don't care if they're Republican, Independent, Libertarian, or Democrat. That deserves investigation to make sure that we're not getting sold down the river. All right. Um, so it turns out that uh, this guy is basically a 73-year-old billionaire and supplies drones to the Russian military. Um, he still remains unsanctioned here in the U.S. And the only thing that is different here than in the UK, Australia, or the EU is that the president's son has a existing business relationship worth millions, all right, like tens of millions of dollars with this person, all right. And he's been clearly tied to Putin, supplying the Russian army with arms and drones. Like there's no question. All right. So Hunter Biden flew to Moscow for a meeting with a now sanctioned Russian oligarch with reportedly close ties to Vladimir Putin. Laptop files reveal. Right. Again, this was referring to laptop. That's how the laptop came up. Vladimir Yusenkov, 73, owns a company which reportedly supplied Putin's forces with drones used for deadly bombing raids in Ukraine, and until last year owned key Russian defense contractor RTI. Right? But while he was added to UK and Australian sanctions list this month, but remains one of the handful of oligarchs unsanctioned by the Biden administration. Hunter's multiple meetings and apparent business deals with him are the latest in a troubling web of his connections to Putin-linked mega-rich individuals, which has emerged from his abandoned laptop. Emails show the president's son and his business partners were courting Yushchenko, Yevtushkinov, for an investment in their real estate company in 2012 and 2013. Rosemont Realty was founded in 2008 by Hunter's Yale schoolmates Devin Archer and former Secretary of State John Kerry's stepson, Chris Heinz. You can see where this is linking together. Hunter joined the firm's advisory board in 2010, though having no experience in real estate whatsoever, by the way, and was a part owner, earning him hundreds of thousands. Emails show that in 2011, his now jailed business partner, Archer, was traveling to Russia, staying in luxury hotels and dining on bear meat, laying the foundations for future real estate deals that he believed would be lucrative for the firm. In November of that year, Archer wrote to an associate, Moscow is going great. It does look like I will be back quite a bit based on our initial response to the real estate fund pitch. 3 months later, Hunter got involved, scheduling a trip to the Russian capital for a dinner with Yushchenko at the headquarters of his company, Sistema, on February 16, 2012, according to the emails and calendar entries on the laptop. Documents published this week by journalist Vicky Ward on her blog suggest the Russian billionaire then took a trip to the U.S. for meetings with Hunter and his Rosemont Realty business partners. A Sistema itinerary translated from Russia, which Ward reported was leaked to her from a close source in Yushchenkov's company, lists a March 14, 2012 breakfast with Hunter Biden at the Ritz-Carlton in New York. The president's son... Okay, so that's the caption on that. Sorry, I apologize. So this is the leak. Emails obtained from dailymail.com. Archer was staying in luxury hotels. This is the calendar. Later that day, Yushchenko flew to Dallas, Texas, had another breakfast with Rosemont Realty at the city's Ritz-Carlton on March 15th, according to the itinerary. 8 months later, Archer wrote an email outlining the meetings. I'm in a meeting with you. He misspelled his name for dinner Sunday evening, January 27th in D.C. at Cafe Milano. Archer's email... we are going to be reviewing commercial office investment program with him and his team. Then we're going to see our properties in the afternoon in Dulles View, which is that Dulles is, so if you've ever heard of Dulles International Airport, it's right outside of DC. 110 million office property in the DC submarket. As an example of our portfolio holdings, joining me will be one of my partners in the Rosemont Seneca and an advisory board member of Rosemont Realty, Hunter Biden. Archer's email was to Kazakhstan banker. So again, another puppet government of Russia. Mark Holtzman, a key fixer for Archer and Hunter. Holtzman replied, Vladimir mentioned this. I raved about you and we'll see him next week in Davos, so we'll reemphasize this. Direct ties between Hunter Biden and Vladimir Putin. Did I not put it in the Discord? I'm sorry. I apologize if it didn't get there. Oh, apparently it did not get there. I apologize, guys. I missed one. Paste. Boom. So, all right. All right. So Archer forwarded the reply to Hunter, noting Holtzman's close relationship to Yinka Shakeoff. FY, Mark Holtzman was on the IT company board with me before I left in December. He's also head of finance committee in Yinka Shakeoff's Sistema board of directors, which benefits us, right? So then it goes here, it goes through their whole itinerary, shows that the links are there. Holtzman was part of a troubling nexus of Putin-linked businesses magnates with whom Hunter has dealt, right? So clear ties between Putin and Hunter Biden. Again, doesn't matter whose side. If this was, I don't know, name one of Trump's kids, Don Jr., I'd be like, yo, this is some fucked up shit. We should check this out, right? We should make sure our leaders are not beholden to foreign powers, period. Don't care who they are. A spokesman for the Russians, Peter Morley, confirmed the meetings with Hunter, but said there was no follow-up. Yushchenko met Hunter Biden among a number of other meetings as part of a routine business trip to the U.S. to scout potential investment opportunities. There was no follow-up from the meeting, and Yushchenko has not met or had any contact with Hunter Biden since then. Yeah, because he was dealing with his handlers instead and the banker. A 75% stake in the company was bought that year by a Chinese investment firm. And this gets into the whole Chinese lucrative deal competing with Russia to buy into what seemed to be access to the then vice president and the person who is now our president. So, yeah. In September 2014, the oligarch ran into legal trouble in Russia and was placed under house arrest in a money laundering case that was widely seen as politically motivated. Russia experts said at the time the prosecution was in fact an attempt to nationalize Russia's oil industry, a large portion of which was controlled by Yushchenko's company Bashneft. But the charges were dropped in 2016. The businessman, worth $9 billion at his peak, rebuilt his relationship with Putin, even reportedly spending a night with him on cots at a Siberian military facility snowed in by a heavy winter storm. Yeah, but so Forcell said, true or not, the rule that investigations not being announced near an election is a good policy. The truth should still be pursued as soon as the election is over. But also, we shouldn't have social media companies squelching news stories, literally removing them, claiming they're false, and then they turn out to be true. They literally remove the New York Post from Twitter. Also, who defines near an election? Now, a government agency announcing an investigation, absolutely. But there's no reason, other than personal political bias, that this news story was squelched. They showed where the laptop came from. They had the signed receipts for them. They were able to show that it contained data that was specific to Hunter Biden. And it was called Russian propaganda. Okay? Russian disinformation. And was said to be faked. And then after the election is over, you know, in like the beginning of March, all of a sudden, oh yeah, New York Times Post, oh yeah, we've confirmed the Hunter Biden laptop. No, you didn't. New York Post did it first. And I think the American people have a right to know if their leaders that they're about to elect are under investigation for severe matters, such as he's under investigation for potentially being linked to receiving dirty money from China. That's important, considering that every business in China belongs to the government, right? Now, just announcing something as mundane as, yeah, she's being investigated because she potentially had classified information on an unsecured computer / private server in her bathroom closet. Yeah, okay. That doesn't affect, is she compromised by an outside national power, a foreign power, excuse me, right? That can be dealt with while they're in office, okay? But if there's a question as to whether or not Joe Biden is representing Chinese interests, right, because of his son's business dealings, and that it seems that it's possible that Joe Biden has received millions of dollars from Chinese companies and investment firms through his son Hunter Biden, and there's emails referencing him as the big guy and 30% to be reserved for the big guy. And Hunter Biden's own business partner said, quote, in quote, the big guy is referencing Joe Biden in those emails, right? That's a statement against self-interest, okay? It's one of the ways you overcome hearsay, because why else would they say it? It doesn't benefit them. It hurts them, but they're being honest, right? Like, doesn't matter. Just like, when it was coming out and they were saying Trump possibly was, connected to Russians, I was like, we should investigate this, right? Fairly is the other thing. We should not be using our justice system and our three-letter ABC boys to execute politically motivated investigations, right? That's the other thing. So, but moving on. By April 9th, the defense analysis blog Oryx had documented... Oh, wait. Did we move? Oh, yeah. This is... his daughter Tatiana has served as an advisor to Russia's state-owned Sberbank. His company, Kronstadt, part of Sistema Group, has reportedly supplied Orion drones for Russian forces used in deadly bombing raids in Ukraine this year. Pictures of an armed Orion drone downed by Ukrainian forces were posted on social media by the account Ukraine Weapons Tracker. We follow them. On April 8th, and Forbes reported 3 videos showing Orion drones taking out Ukrainian vehicles. By April 9th, the defense analysis blog Oryx had documented 6 drone strikes in Ukraine by Orion drones. A leaked audio recording was published last week with an alleged conversation between Yushchenko and a Georgian oligarch discussing how to circumvent international sanctions arising from Putin's invasion of Ukraine. A U.S. State Department spokesman refused to confirm the authenticity of the recording in a press briefing on Tuesday. Okay, so listen, when the U.S. government says we can neither confirm or deny, you should ask questions. That's all I'm going to say on that. All right? Discussing how to the U.S. Blah, 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 blah. But added that sanctions evasion is something that we are taking a very close look at around the world. The lines between truth and reporting and editorial opinion is blurry these days for sure. Absolutely. I can definitely agree with that. All right. Let's see. I'm not in a position to preview sanctions on any individual or specific entities, but it's something we're taking a very close look at, the spokesman said. This month, the Russian oligarch gave up formal control of the publicly listed company Sistema by transferring 10% of his shares to his son. He now holds 49.2% of the company, while his son Felix has 15.2%. Morley said Sistema's stake in Russian defense contractor RTI dropped below controlling level and has since exited the company completely. Listen, guys, putting your holdings into a shell company that has no listed board members, which you can do in Nevada, by the way.
So that's where those companies come. Okay.
Yeah, that's why you incorporate in Nevada, because you can literally list. You basically can create a ghost board, right? By creating temporary holders of the position and listing an agent. You don't have to list who actually owns the company. And last time I checked, and I could be wrong, Nevada does not have a income sharing agreement with the IRS, right? Nevada proper. So yeah, it's insane, man.
So it's like the Swiss for the Americans, pretty much, for the non-business people.
Yeah, it's where you can go to do tax evasion. And the reason why a lot of companies incorporate in Delaware is Delaware has very favorable business courts, right, and arbitration system, and their case law is very well formed, right, because of just how much litigations happen there, and it's really conducive to businesses to be there. So yeah. Oh no, absolutely. When you're Johnny Depp and you prove beyond a reasonable doubt, and you still get found against, and like every lawyer in the country is just scratching their head, like I don't know. Yeah, it's hard for the public. Luna Girl says, yeah, it's hard for the public to pull out the facts, and the public start to pick sides because they agree with opinionated or emotional part, not the facts part. And also, they try to they want to trust the news. You want to trust the people who are supposed to be giving you information and removing as much bias as they can, and that's why we have to get apps like. Hold on, let me go up here and do it up here instead. Um, like it's called Ground News, and it's great. Um, they don't sponsor us or anything, guys. It's just they're it's a great app. If you get a chance, check them out. Here it is here. But what it does is it literally shows you the better way to. So it shows you the left, center, and right, and it shows you like these are people, and it'll show you the same article, right? Between the three. And what it does is if you go through and you read it from a left source, a middle source, and a right source, if you take the things that's common between all of them, you sort of get the ground facts, and then it's up to you to sort of figure out the rest of the stuff that's hazy around it. But yeah, it's great. Heck yeah, we just hit 17 viewers, man. New record. Welcome, guys. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being a part of it. All right, and continuing on. So, that's about it for this, man. It's just a cluster. Hopefully, we get a better handle and we can get out of our political biases and find out, if there's dirty money influencing the people who are at the top of our country, no matter who they are. All right. I don't know if I want to touch this one. Yeah, I'm not sure if I want to touch this one. I'm gonna have a very difficult time providing an unbiased opinion here. Yes, it is Northern. Welcome, man. Good to see you, my dude. Good to see you. Um, Amazon to reimburse employees $4,000 if they have to travel for an abortion. They're a private company. They can do as they want. This is why I'm not buying from Amazon anymore. Things like this, right? I don't agree with it. Um, just so everybody knows, I am very pro-life because clearly I've stated I'm a Christian. There's plenty of families out there who would love to adopt who can't have kids. Um, and this is one of the subjects that commonly leads me into the conversation of modern day sexism, where people try to say because of the nature of your genitalia that your opinion is less or you shouldn't have an opinion about something. It literally happened to me in the other Discord we shall not name or speak of. I took a screenshot of it. It was kind of hilarious. Um, uh, thing is that if something affects the fabric of our society, right, as a whole, whether it's a men's issue or a women's issue, it means it's a societal issue. And no person's opinion on a matter or a subject is more important than another person's opinion, no matter the color of their skin or the nature of the genitalia between their legs. And if you say otherwise, you are racist and you are sexist. Period. That's where I stand.
So even like situational, or are you against like all abortion?
Here's the thing. So people try to use that as a wedge, as a political wedge. Here's
Mhm.
what I say to people who make that argument. So we're talking. I assume you're referring to abortion in the cases of incest, rape, um, or danger to the mother's life, right? That's what you're referring to?
Mostly, so with the danger to the mother's life, like I think that would be more of the mother's choice
Yeah.
because like if she want, so that's a thing that's tough. If she wants to have a kid and something like that happens, that's her choice to have a kid. So like that should be
Okay. Well, I'm
her
asking what
decision.
what specific cases are you talking about? So are you talking
I'm
about in the
mostly about rape. like
rape,
something like that,
incest,
yeah.
and yeah. So rape and incest. Okay, so that's less than 1% of all abortions. If we can agree the other 99% of abortions are wrong, we can absolutely have conversations around that one.
I mean, yeah, like I don't agree. Like if you don't want a kid, or let's put it this way, if you're pregnant and you don't want the kid, but you didn't take steps to not become pregnant, like there's lots of contraceptives or you can try and like, you know, like if you didn't be prepared to like prevent having a kid, then I can agree with that.
So
Like just
so
because you
I
don't want the kid.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I'd like to point out that I try to avoid this topic, but I'm talking about it because you chat wanted you guys influenced it. So, um, and Dusel. So I get what you're saying, Dusel. But the thing is that I don't think that it should be used as a way to avoid personal responsibility, right? But
Right,
also, people need to understand that when a child is conceived and created, a father was involved. Okay,
right.
I'm gonna have a personal conversation here. So, um, way back when I got out of a 5 year relationship, I had a fling with a girl, and she knew that she wasn't on birth control, and she said, well, if it happens, it happens, right? And she got pregnant, and at first she was happy about the first month or so after finding out. And then me and her hit a rock or a hard place because I told her that I just wasn't ready to be in another committed relationship at the moment. Okay. And she then said, well, then I'm going to get an abortion. She didn't create that child on her own. She accepted that risk. Okay.
Right.
When we were getting together, she knew that there was a possibility that she could get pregnant, and it happened. And she was not the only person who created that child, and we had already gotten ultrasounds and started to become attached. And to give her the ability to terminate a child that's mine, right? She has no medical reason. She was young, healthy. Pregnancy was going along fine, but she was before 21 weeks in North Carolina. Up to 21 weeks, you can have an abortion. Um, I feel that that is demeaning to the human value of a man who was involved in that situation. All right.
I can agree with that.
And when we talk about rights to our body, people like to make the argument of my body, my choice. Well, that isn't your body. There is a symbiotic relationship there. But that life that's inside of you has an entirely different DNA structure, chromosomes, heart, brain. It's breathing. It's breathing your oxygen, but it's breathing. It is a separate entity. It has life, it has value. And this goes back to my belief that all life has intrinsic value, no matter who you are, no matter what you've done, no matter where you come from, no matter the color of your skin, no matter your gender, no matter your political beliefs, you have value just by being alive. And I think that extends to children also, born and unborn. And the problem is that when we try to draw a line at when does something become a life, right? That is a very slippery slope because you can never pin it down because there's always a different opinion,
Our
right?
kids aren't like not every baby's the same because like how even there's premature births and stuff like that. Like they're
And
born
as
earlier.
as the miracles of science have progressed, we can now have children that are born at 21 weeks and survive. 20, I think the earliest birth was 20 weeks and survived. Like think about that, right? And if we put it at a heartbeat, well, by the time a child has a heartbeat, they have a formed nervous system and a brainstem. They can feel pain. So just because you think that, oh, I shouldn't have to deal with this pregnancy, you just get to kill something that can feel pain. You can
Like
literally
that,
watch it scream.
that I disagree with. Like if say like the woman that you were with, like if she was okay having a kid, and just because your two relationship didn't work out, like that shouldn't be like an abortion. Like that could be like an adoption kid. Like she could have the kid and put it up for adoption. You know, like in that situation, if like say it's a different relationship and someone else goes out and does they want to have a kid, but the relationship doesn't work out, you can't just say like, oh well, no, I don't want it anymore.
Now, I believe that if either parent chooses that they don't want a child and you choose to go forward and have that child, then that should alleviate the other person. Okay? I firmly believe that if that's what you choose to do, right, then that's your choice. Because also in the same token as a man, if I get a woman pregnant and I decide I'm not ready for children, but she decides she wants it anyways, right? I have no say in that.
Right.
Well, how's that fair? And we're going to get into fairness here. Yeah, and I know life's not fair, but that's a bad argument, and it's called a straw man, and we're not going to use that here. So, let's read real quick. It says, I am a Christian, and I am still for free choice. So I find we can dive into that in a little bit later, or maybe in a personal conversation, me and you, Isa. I want to shy away from the religious perspective because the thing is that using religion to justify a position in a conversation where everyone may not hold the same religious beliefs and you believe in separation between the church and state, because the Bible speaks to that when it talks about give unto Caesar what is Caesar's and unto Christ what is Christ, right? I firmly believe that I can live my values and not force them on someone else through law, right? And I agree, and I think right now I'm being careful because we have to be careful because of YouTube's TOS, right? And some of the ways we can get in trouble here are instantaneous, but the thing is that I believe that if she decides she doesn't want a child, but you decide you do, right? And who the father is clear, or mostly clear. Then you should be able to say, you know, if you choose that you want that I have to go through with this, then you or that you're going to go through with this, then the other person is alleviated. That is what it is. No, I get it. This is the thing. We have to be able to agree to disagree and to be able to have these conversations because these are very sensitive subjects to people. As you heard my personal story, right? Those things are very personal and you can't, yes, that is my personal experience, right? And so I have a very biased, and I was very open at the beginning of this, I have a very biased opinion, right? And so, and I know this, but it's because of my personal perspective. And I can't remember what it's called, where you can't use basically instances that you've seen to speak for the whole, right? Statistically,
Ethnocentrism.
Ethnocentrism? No, it's a different word, but it's okay. I'll find it out later. Hey, what's up, ABCD? I appreciate that though. So at the end of the day, I believe that for me, I believe that I cannot agree with abortion personally because I believe it's murder. Okay. But it is not my place to place my personal perspectives or my ethical beliefs on another person. All right. And this is where we get into the challenge of being Christian versus how we view the world around us. Just like I believe I shouldn't be forced to participate in someone else's personal or political beliefs, you shouldn't be forced to participate in my personal or political beliefs either. If you choose to go get an abortion, that is your right as long as it is legally allowed. And I think that our laws should be separate from our religious beliefs, right? And that they should be based around societal fabric. And if society says it's wrong, that's why I'm very about statehood, because if a certain state says it's wrong and another state says it's right, move to the state that you agree with, right? And I believe that people should be able to be self-determining in their life and in their rights. And people who are like, oh, I'm all about liberties and I'm a left-leaning libertarian, but I want to restrict your freedom to do something because I disagree with it, but I want to do this other thing you may find heinous. I find that very hypocritical. So, you know, that just is what it is. And again, I wouldn't approach this topic if it wasn't for chat. Because again, I know I have a very biased opinion, but at the end of the day, I'm still saying if the state allows it, then that's your right. I disagree with it. But again, I shouldn't put my personal beliefs on you as a requirement because they're not yours, and that's wrong. And that's what I'm going to leave this at. And we're going to close this tab out and avoid this subject entirely the rest of the way. All right, so let's catch up on
Just so
this.
you know, like, I don't care. I'm not mad about any of it. So you don't need to be uncomfortable because of me. I
Oh, I'm
don't
not.
care.
I'm not. I'm just like I was trying to avoid. So what happened, AB, is that I wasn't going to touch this subject, right? Because it was one of the recommendeds, and I wasn't going to touch it because I know I have a very biased opinion. And chat was like, "No, talk about it. You know, we know you're biased, but you're just stating your opinion and talking about it." And I addressed the subject. We've already had some very deep conversations because of something that happened earlier, and everybody that was in chat, it was very the article was very upsetting, and there are people here in chat who are both on the left and right and found it upsetting and wrong, and it was very deep, and it got a lot of us angry, and like two people got moved to tears. So we're avoiding this deep subject for a reason. We've already had the emotional roller coaster for tonight. So cool.
Glad I missed it.
Yo, I'll send you the article later. Because
Thanks.
yeah, you know, I'll help you cry it out. I feel so bad. So for those who don't know,
No,
me and AB have
no.
had serious conversations, whether it's about being upset over something super emotional or, you know, killing a possum. um,
That possum is still alive,
oh my
and you're
God.
still not killing it. So possum wins.
I mean, I wasn't the one who wanted to get. You were the one talking. I gotta kill a possum. I felt so bad. I'm like, man, I made her cry
Oh, okay. Did you think
over
I
feeling
really
so bad
sounded
about some
like
stuff.
that? I did
No,
not really
no.
sound like that. I was way stressed out about it. So I wasn't like crying about it. All right. It was
You
like,
said you like bawled your eyes out. I don't know. I've never heard you
well, I
bawl your eyes.
did,
I'm
but it wasn't
sorry.
to you. It was to like
You,
possum.
we were talking, and you were like crying your eyes out, and I don't know. We weren't in voice at the time, so I just assumed what you sounded like. Leave me alone. I'm glad you're here though to give another voice. I'm very happy you decided to join me. Join us. Wait. When it record is probably get taken down due to TOS. Yeah, well, that's why we're gonna step lightly, and I'll let you guys know if we're stepping over a boundary. I've tried to quickly familiarize myself with YouTube's TOS, and I think it's a little over assertive, but I know why they're doing it. So, uh, or if that's when you're wise, and I like how you approach these topics. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I try to be considerate of other people's opinions, even if they may be severely differing from mine. As long as we're respectful to each other and we don't other another person. The moment we start othering each other, that's when I become upset. Um, these poor dumb squirrels who run under vehicles. Come on, come on, one more ride. Oh, all right, guys. All right, we're moving on. We're moving on. All right. So, last subject for the night. Security Council Secretary, Hungarian authorities knew of Russian full-scale invasion beforehand. NSDC Secretary Alexei Danilov said the Russian President Vladimir Putin shared his plans to launch a full-scale invasion of Ukraine with Hungarian authorities before it happened. All right, so there's one thing for us to assume. So this first comment is besides we were warning them, but they were saying that it was a training exercise, guys. Okay, this is a conversation that happened between Vladimir Putin and the Hungarian president at the time, who is pro-Putin, and there's a huge conflict in Hungary between the prime minister and the president. The country is about evenly divided on both sides, and Hungary's in a difficult position, anyways, because of the way that they're attached to Russian oil and energy and tourism. So, um, basically, this goes into a problem of Hungary is a member of the EU, right? And if I remember correctly, let me check this before I say it. I'm gonna fact check myself live. Um, and Hungary is a part of NATO since 1999, right? Um, wait, that's the same year Orban. That no way. Hold on. Alongside former Soviet Union satellite states, the Czech Republic and Poland, Hungary joined NATO in 1999. Incidentally, this was during Viktor Orban's first term in office as Hungary's prime minister. Yo, what the heck, man? Um, he's the prime minister of Hungary, and it's the president that's again. Okay, got it. Okay, so, um, anyways, moving forward, um, this is interesting because as a NATO partner, they were required to share this intelligence with us, and they didn't, right? So this puts us in a very precarious situation. NATO has a lot of rules and bylaws, and the whole reason that NATO was formed was to stop Russian aggression, right? And to prevent Russia running over Europe if they ever decided to. Okay? Says, oh, mom's here. Oh yeah. You guys just figured out she's Mama Isa. Also, yeah. I got shit for that earlier. Um, but basically, they're sort of required to tell us, and I think it's kind of shitty. You know, they've benefited from NATO protection. They've benefited from our investment in their military. They've been able to buy Western weapons at cost and all the things that come with NATO membership. And they then get given intelligence by Russia, and they have a requirement to share, and they said fuck it, right? Like it's it's entire because if we would have been able to go to Ukraine and be like, yo, homie, Hungary had a phone call with Putin, and Putin was like, yo, I'm gonna invade this country in like 2 weeks. So it's not like we're guessing. It's not that we're saying, hey, this formation looks like this. Literally, he told one of our allies he's going to invade you in 2 weeks. I think that could have changed the dynamic of how we approach this, right? Uh, what was that? And we don't know why they shared to Russia. It says this is crazy, and we don't know why they shared to Russia in NATO's back since February 24th. Yeah, I mean, you got to think like if we would have been able to put this down, like, hey, we know this for sure. They've declared it. They said it in this conversation, and we were able to be like, hey, it's a definite. Maybe we could have changed the ground game. Maybe we could have changed the calculation. If we would have put 100,000 American troops into Ukraine and been like, yeah, if you strike us, it's Article 5, right? You don't think that would have changed the calculation from Russia, right? So it's it's really bad. I think that this should definitely call into question some of the NATO memberships and maybe trigger some reviews of it. I don't know if they can be kicked out of NATO. I was just about to look that up, but I didn't. I don't know if it's treason. I mean, I think that it's definitely showing a lack of partnership. That's for damn sure. But I mean, imagine if we could have presented Zelensky with a concrete instead of a observation that appeared suspicious, right? So that's really what I'm talking about. Um, I don't know, man. It is really sneaky. Oh, this guy. We're 9 minutes past. So how about this? You guys want to keep going? Hold on. I'll put the poll in the chat. Boom. The poll's out there. You guys want to keep going? Yes or no? All right. Yes, 100%. All right. Well, 5 votes, 6 votes, 7 votes. All right. Well, there we go. All 7. Yep. Poll complete. Why did it only show 3? All right, guys. Well, here's the bet then. It's 9:10. Let's take a quick 5-minute break. I'm going to go smoke. We've gotten into some deep shit, and then we'll keep going. Sound good? Oh, man, I lost a bunch of viewership there. That's weird. Look, we went down to 5. I mean, it says 11 now, but we went down to 5.
Yeah, that's what.
I like it. You guys want to keep going? Yeah, we're going to keep going. Nah, we have plenty for tomorrow. I'll be right back. Give me a good 5 minutes. So we're gonna put up the be right back. We're gonna throw on the music, and then we'll be back around 17 to 20 after. So all right, we'll be right back. Boom. Right. So that was quicker than I expected. We'll kick it for about 5 minutes till everybody gets back. So, the 17 on YouTube. Yeah, yeah, we're not doing horrible for a new channel. First live podcast. I'll take 17 people. We hit 21 for a second.
At least it's staying consistent.
Yeah. So, let's go see what's going on in the Twitter sphere. Oh, by the way, it seems that Russians are purposely destroying their own vehicles to avoid going to fight. That was up at the top, by the way.
Jeez.
Um,
Give it up.
the backdrop of escalation in unrecognized Chinese. Oh, people are lining up to flee. Does anybody know how to say it? Is it Transnistria or Transnistria or it doesn't matter. The breakaway region of Moldova. So, the president of Ukraine, Vladimir Zelensky, has refuted Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov's statement that the lifting of sanctions on Russia is being discussed in the talks between the two countries. Woot. $1 billion spaghetti. That's some expensive ass spaghetti. That shit better be made of like gold. Holy Jesus. My friend, his husband ordered him some black water because apparently it was if you pay for the shipping, you get a case free. And he was like, I ain't drinking black water. And I was like, shit, I'll try it. Fuck it. So apparently I'm getting a case of black water.
It tastes weird. It's like more like not gritty, but it tastes different. I've had it once.
Okay. Well, we'll try anything once. That's what she said,
I
at
think it's
least.
like volcanic or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's like heavy minerals and stuff. That makes sense.
Yeah, I can look it up, see.
Better find a better way to route this headset cord. So what's up, North? Seems like you've sobered up a little bit. I'm glad. Welcome back. Oh man. It'd be crazy. Crazy. Advanced audio properties. Oh, okay. Well, wish I could go positive on the DBs, but oh, will it let me go positive on the DBs? It just I have to go and do it in the. Okay, so I can churn it up. There we go. Okay, now I'm hitting it. All right, so let's bring that down just a little bit. So I have to go into the special settings to get it to go positive, but I can do it. Okay, cool. All right, so that means I can use less gain, which means my microphone won't sound as crappy. So there we Oh, I've been churning it the wrong way. That's why. Okay, well, live you learn. It's been a while. Did this for a bit on Twitch. Actually, that reminds me, I need to go check that email. Let me drag this up where you guys can't see my personal email. Come on. Nope, wrong one. Let's go to that one. Did Twitch respond? Oh, there we go. They responded. Let's see what they said. Thank you for reaching out. In order to change the listed 2FA phone number to your current one, please fill out this phone number change from our two-factor authentication provider, Authy. Now to have access to your old phone number to change your number, you only need to know what the number was. Okay, cool. You may need to provide your Authy ID to verify your account. Oh, yes. Guys, we're going to be going to Twitch and you guys can subscribe to me on Twitch if you want to. Just saying. Yeah. So, ba-dum-dums. Yo, if you guys have Amazon Prime, you guys can actually subscribe for free on Twitch. So throw me that Prime subscription. It doesn't cost you a dime, and it makes me a little bit of money. So, anyways, all right, I'll get that done after this. But yay, I get my account back. All right. So much better and clearer now. Good stuff. Yeah, I was turning my gain the wrong direction. So there we go. Oh man, that's what I get for doing things live. Yeah. So there we go. Now we'll turn it down just a little tad bit more so it's not in the super positives. Go down to like a 4, and there we go. I was wondering, man, I was like, what is going on with my setup? Like, I have an expensive ass microphone and chair. Like, if you guys don't know, by the way, again, not sponsored either, but Secret Labs, the Secret Labs Titan chair is amazing. If you spend a lot of time sitting at your desk in your chair, get one of these. It will save your back and your butt. I don't, I sit in this like 12 hours a day and don't get flat butt. So, feel it works. It's great. And it has like this adjustable lumbar support and like 3D, 4D, like whatever they call it, their marketing term is for like the um, armrests. This thing has taken a beating for 3 years, and it's a little worn in some places, but best $500 I've ever spent. Like I would get up and have back pain, and I don't have that out of this chair, so it's good stuff. All right, it's 21 after. Let's keep going.
Be right back.
But do you get swamp ass? Nah, I don't get that. Actually, it's very well ventilated. It doesn't build up a lot of heat. So, live and learn. You live, you learn, huh? Uh, so what you have to do, Luna, is you basically create your Twitch account and you link it to your Amazon account. Just it'll show you. It says activate Prime, right? Because Amazon bought Twitch. So yeah, yo, this thing's great. Actually, you know what? While we're here, I'll show it to you. This thing's great. So this is what I have. So Secret Labs Titan. Yes, I know it's expensive. So hold on, I'll move. Yo, this thing is great though. And they were a sponsor, so I actually only paid half price way back in the day. Oh, all my Corsair gear, except my headset is down because I used it too much. But all my Corsair gear, like my keyboard and my mouse and my little thing it's on and all that, my headset back when I had it, all free. I mean, it is. It is. It definitely is. I like the built-in lumbar support, 3D lumbar support. It's great, worth it. But if I were you, I want to get the 2022. Save yourself $100. Get the get the 2020. It's just as good. You can find them on sale sometimes. But yeah, I want to get the cloth one, but I'm scared that like my sweat will stain it because I spend so much time in my chair. So the pure leather one, how much is the pure leather one now? I think it's like $700 or some shit like that. It's ridiculous. So hold on. Oh, they made it where it's different sizes now too. So I have the XL, and then the Napa leather. Oh, the Napa leather is now $1,000. Holy shit! Basically, for sale. I mean, I'm a software engineer and then I stream. My God, though, do you see this? No, so mine is breaking down because my sweat, like the PU leather, is breaking down. It's not the chair's fault, but it's still great. I mean, I spend so much time in it. If I my next chair, I'll probably get this one, but I'm definitely not paying $1,100 for it. But no, it's a great chair. They should pay me to front their shit. But It's soft. I used to have so much pain, even out of the ergonomic chairs. Like, I had one of those like urban ergonomic like fabric ones, and bro, it was crazy. Let's see what the New York Post has going on. Oh, of course we're gonna signal, but you have. Guess what? Guarantee you, his private security has guns. Want to take bets? We can. Aw, that's just sad. By the way, guys, Roe v. Wade actually didn't have anything to do with abortion. It just extended out. Study law. It's important to understand the basics of it, and especially core Supreme Court ruling. Stare decisis is another great one. If you want some good legal doctrine to look at. So, um, so basically, stare decisis is the doctrine used to say that courts will adhere to precedent in making decisions, and that if they're going to go against precedents, then they need to have good reason to do so, right? And this has been sort of a sticky point because, for example, when it came to stuff like vaccines, some of the doctrine and precedent that they used was actually from cases involving eugenics. um, and the left like put out these cases and didn't look at what the cases were actually about. And literally two of the cases that were used by the lower courts to make determinations when it came to mandates were cases that were formed that where the opinion was formed in substantiation of eugenics. So, yeah. Anyways, gotta be careful. Um, it also applies horizontally and vertically, which is this is talking about. So, horizontal stare decisis is basically a court needs to adhere to its own precedents, and then horizontal is that um, court rulings above. So, if you appeal something and the lower court followed the precedent set before them, then the higher court needs to respect that, and that's the precedent that's been set. And unless there's just some specific reason in that fact pattern, then they need to respect the precedent and um, not overturn it just because they're a higher court that can. Um, it's a very interesting doctrine that sometimes leads to quite a bit of injustice, because just because something's precedent doesn't mean it's right. So, anyways, right. So, what do you guys want to talk about? I opened up the podcast subjects um, channel. If you guys have something specific you want to talk about, questions, anything. Jay the Giant Peach. Amazon bought everything. Have you guys ever looked at your history of total uh, amping spent on Amazon? It's terrible, and you're a great chair model. I'm a great chair model. Well, I appreciate that. Um, yeah. I feel like I was lied to my entire. I was taught that Roe v. Wade equal abortion law, and the Pilgrims and Indians sat together and had a bomb meal together and sung songs together for Thanksgiving. Actually, the first Thanksgiving was rather peaceful and actually was a decently cordial um, event. Um, Luna, did you know that Roe v. Wade wasn't actually about abortion before this, or did you just figure that out? Or did you figure it out later and you're just talking to me about it? I'm trying to figure out if I either informed you or what just happened. Yeah, Roe v. Wade was not actually about abortion. Yeah, so basically in 1970, Jane Doe, a fictional name, blah blah blah, filed a lawsuit against Henry Wade, the district attorney of Dallas County, Texas, where she resided, challenging a Texas law making abortion legal as set by a doctor's order to save a woman's life. In her lawsuit, Roe alleged that the state laws were unconstitutionally vague and abridged her right to personal privacy, protected by the First, Fourth, Fifth, Ninth, and 14th Amendment. No, I'm not trying to shame you. I'm just trying to see if I was informative. So Roe v. Wade was really about personal privacy, right? And it's one of the first medical privacy decisions in the United States, from what I understand. Um, so the conclusion was actually, and by the way, want to point something out, that all the people that made this decision and that empowered a woman's quote unquote right to choose, all old white men, except for this guy right here, Marshall. He was Latino. So dissenting was White and Rehnquist. Other than that, 7-4, 2 against. And it basically says, inherent in the due process clause of the 14th Amendment is a fundamental right to privacy that protects a pregnant woman's choice whether to have an abortion. Okay. However, this right is balanced against the government's interest in protecting women's health and protecting the potentiality of human life. Right. So the case hinged not on whether abortion was legal or not, but whether a woman had a right to privacy that allowed her to have an abortion without anyone knowing. So though abortion could be illegal, the state had no right to know about that, and she had a right to have that abortion in privacy, right? Yeah, so basically the government's invading your privacy by knowing about medical procedures you're having, right? Unless they challenge or hurt your health, which is where they balanced it with this, right? So basically what they were saying, you have a right to privacy up until a certain point where it's either harmful to a woman's health or um, or the state is protecting what they now consider a human life, right? So it once you bridge the gap from it's a fetus to it is a human life, that would be murder, right? So before this point it's not murder, after this point it's murder, right? And that's where all the friction happens, in that latter part, right? In that latter part of the finding is where all the friction happened. So they set up they based it on the trimesters, right? Which is kind of messy, but it was, it's a bunch of guys who, most of them don't have medical degrees. And yeah, so the argument that allowed this to move forward is that the 14th Amendment guarantees you a right to privacy with privileged context, right? And you have a privileged context with 3 different people in this world, guaranteed. You're a lawyer. There's always something that stops this, but I'm giving a general statement. As I understand it, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not giving legal advice. Seek an attorney if you want to know about privilege, okay? But from my understanding, you have privilege with your lawyer. You have privilege with your clergy, right? There's limitations around that too. Okay, it has to be like in the execution of their normal duty and blah, 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 blah. Again, talk to a lawyer. All right. And your doctor. Okay. These are people you enjoy privilege with. The most broad privilege, as I understand it, is with your lawyer. All right. And the second most broad privilege, as long as it's about something dealing with your health, whether mental or personal, okay, or mental or physical, is with your doctor, right? Clergy is actually quite limited, from what I understand. Again, not a lawyer. If you have questions about privilege, don't listen to me. Please speak to a person who is licensed to practice law in your state, or if it's a federal issue, to practice law in the federal courts. But yeah, it came down to personal privacy and balancing that privacy with ensuring that people aren't killing viable children, and or risking a woman's health by having dangerous procedures, because when this was decided, abortion could be quite dangerous as it got later. So, yeah, sorry, I got off on a tangent. But yeah, every day, learn something new. So the finding was around right to privacy, not right to abortion. Okay. Oh, here's the actual printing of the finding. Also, this was done in a way. So sometimes a court doesn't have a specific reason to take up a case in which which there's a standing challenge or some type of um, the Court of Appeals basically took this up over, even though there may not have been substantive ground for appeal. Okay, because it was such a core and important part of legal doctrine that was being founded, that they felt that it was necessary to rule on it, right? Because it was placed before the court, asking for them to take, I forget what type of consideration, but there's a word for it. It's a specific type of consideration. And so they took it and they said, yeah, we're going to take it on this specific type of consideration and we'll hear the case. Because it does provide a quite substantive legal right to privacy when it comes to you and your doctor and medicine, right? So, yeah. Right. Anyways, crazy. It's crazy. I was quite surprised too, because I always thought that Roe v. Wade was about right to abortion, not right to privacy. And the legal foundation of it is built on right to privacy. All right. I ain't got much more in me, guys. What else you guys want to talk about? What are we doing? Let's see what happens when we bring up news.google.com. Oh, that's some shit. Judge rules January 6th committee can obtain RNC and Trump campaign email data. Okay. AOC, those who paid off student loans should support debt forgiveness. Okay, this doesn't make any sense to me. You decided to go to college, you decided to take out loans, right? I have no college degree. I have a GED. I have no high school diploma. All right. Any of you who have ever seen my LinkedIn know that I was quite successful in up until a certain situation happened. Okay. And I'm still quite successful, even given that situation and awaiting a trial for 5 years. All right. I'm scraping by, but I'm still getting by, which is more than most people in my circumstance. If you make a decision to encumber yourself with great debt in pursuit of higher education, that is your personal choice. Now, we can talk about the issue of why college is so expensive, but maybe it's because people are willing to take on debt of such a high magnitude in order to achieve it, and saying no, instead of saying no and using their purse strings to say, your costs are too high. I don't need this. I'm going to go a different route. And creating a societal movement. Society controls the fabric of society. If we move to change the color or shape of that fabric, that is what should move the needle forward, not regulation from some government body. It is up to us. If you want to change, like the article that we were talking about with schools, get out there and run for your school board. Or at least study the people who are running for school board. Because guess what? Those school board positions are much more important to the future of this country than any congressperson is. Okay? Because they're most likely not going to get shit done anyways. No offense to them, but it's just statistically true. You know, find out who's running for mayor. Find out who, was appointed as a city manager and who did that and what their qualifications are. Pay attention to your local politics, right? Change those things. You want to change our school system? We have public colleges for a reason. Why do our public colleges need rock walls and student entertainment centers and gaming computers in their library where you can game and Twitch stream? Literally, UNCC has gaming computers set up so you can literally stream from them, and there's a row of them. And when they were purchased, they were like $3,000 a piece, and they have like 15 of them. Okay, they had 2080 Ti's when they were like the shit. Like, it's ridiculous. You want to know why it's so expensive to go to college? It's because we allow our public college, we need to compete with private institutions. No, that's not your job. That's not what you're here for. If you are a public university, you should have to justify when you spend money. Your athletics programs should not get more money than the rest of the college combined. When your athletics programs have more money spent on them than the rest of the college combined. Oh, well, they're a profit center. No, they're not. Not when you look at the output. Yeah, they break even, and yeah, they attract people to your college. But what should attract people to your college if you're a public university should be the quality of your education programs, not the quality of your athletic programs. You serve a purpose to provide a educational opportunity to those who cannot afford private institutions. That is your job. Period. And oh, by the way, everyone who says I'm on the right, guess what? This is a very left way of thinking. But I don't support if you intentionally and purposely took on debt by choice as an adult, that the taxpayer should have to pick that up for you. If you make bad choices, you deal with the consequences. Okay? Now, I don't believe that you shouldn't be able to get rid of student debt with bankruptcy. I disagree with that. But that's a reform of the law. It doesn't matter. When I was 17 years old, I literally signed up to go to the military, and a month after my 18th birthday, I was in a war zone. Okay? I made dumb decisions, and I live with them. And it haunts me every day to this day. But I made that choice. And at some point, we have to say someone's an adult.
It also goes with like schools.
Mm-hmm.
Like there should be a point where they teach you about finances and how to do, like, find stuff that's better or manage your money. So like you're not going into debt over everything.
And that's something I talk to people about a lot, that we should definitely be looking at, is teaching better management of what is credit. Dude, no one taught me about credit. Nobody taught me what credit was. I had no understanding of that shit. None. But we can't just say, because you're 17 years old, you're too stupid. But it's not 17. When you take out these loans, you're 18 usually. Or 19. And by then, it's up to us as parents to make sure that our children are prepared, that they have the appropriate understanding of finances. Like home ec should be teaching. Everybody should be required to do one semester of home ec in high school. Home ec should teach 4 core things: basic finance and credit, cooking, okay? How to iron your goddamn clothes. Excuse my language, sorry. Use the Lord's name in vain. Apologize. How to iron your clothes, okay? Do basic upkeep, how to be a man who knows how to clean his house, do laundry, and iron his clothes. Like, those are simple things. Cook basic meals, do basic finances, and understand basic credit. The fourth thing they should teach you is the basics of child rearing. How do you make a bottle? How do you change a diaper? How do you identify when an infant is distressed, right? Stuff, just basic home ec to give you the basic skills that if you have a kid, if you need to finance some shit, right? If you need to cook yourself some food so you don't starve, so you don't have to go out every night because that shit's too expensive and you can't afford it, right? Like, it's very simple. We do have interest-free student loans. Federal student loans don't have interest.
FAFSA.
Yeah, FAFSA and federal student loans do not have interest. Only private student loans have interest in the United States. Actually, I take that back. If you are well off and you don't meet the financial requirements for 0% interest, you get 1.1%. And that's nothing.
That's really good
Yeah.
compared to if you were taking out a private loan from a bank.
Put it this way, I was earning $186,000 a year when I went back to college. Okay? My interest rate on my loan was 1.1%, and I did not have great credit. We were having this conversation, Luna. So Luna said, my dad was raised on college equals makes you successful. So he pushed that. I guess I'm saying I wasn't old enough to question society or my father. I think we had this question the other day, this conversation the other day. You should question everything. I think you were maybe around for that. I don't know. But questioning the societal norms and changing the social fabric of things, you don't get to get out of consequences of your actions, right? Ignorance is not an excuse for breaking the law. It's also not an excuse for breaking a contract that you signed. Right? We've all had those. I don't have student debt because I was too fucking poor to go to school. And when I did go to school, I just pulled the loan out. By that time, I pulled the loan out just so I could build the credit, and I literally paid it off a week after they issued it because I had it. But I was going back to school. At first, I was going back to get my computer science degree, but I had over 12 years of experience in my field, was published, right? Meaning, by the time I was doing this, I was already published, contributed to the field of computer science. Like, if I had my master's degree, I would have had my PhD, most likely, right? So, I understand, and that's why we need to teach that. But again, it's not other people's fault that you or your parents help you make bad decisions. I don't want to say it's a bad decision. It's a learning decision. Debt is a learning decision. And we need to teach other generations. But if we constantly let people escape from the consequences of their decisions, no matter what they were, we're not going to learn that, hey, I should inform my kids that, you know what, they should avoid this because it hurt the shit out of me. Oh, the government took care of it. You know, sometimes you just mess up and they'll look out for you. No. Like, yeah, but I worked my ass off. I'm a kid with a GED. My peers had, so example, when I was working at Duke Energy, okay, I was 28 years old. All right, I got promoted as a contractor from being a software engineer to a technical lead, and then I became a senior technical lead. Okay, it was the first time I broke the 150,000 mark. Okay. I was earning $84 an hour, right? Which is like 168,000. 28 years old, right? And my peers next to me were guys in their mid 30s, beginning of their 40s sometimes. And some of these guys graduated from Stanford, MIT. One of them actually graduated from MIT. Two of them graduated from Stanford. One went to like NC State. You know, really, really solid schools, okay? And I was competing against these guys, all right? And I did a pretty damn good job. And, you know, I did that without a college degree, right? And it othered me not having that college degree because they'd be like, oh, what's your alma mater? I don't have one. Oh, where'd you go to high school? Yeah, about that. But I taught myself calculus. I taught myself relational algebra, right? I didn't teach myself all of calculus. I taught myself lambda expressions and um, uh, expressional calculus, right? Logic and logical, logically defined calculus, which defines logic trees and shit like that. Rule of cardinality, power sets, supersets, basically the basics of how you know databases work, right? But I worked hard. I came out of absolute poverty. Why should I pay for your privilege? Because I couldn't get student loans at that time. No one would give me one. Why should I pay for your privilege of you being able to take out a student loan? Oh, I get it. Now that I can agree with. So she said, "Yes, I agree that it's not anyone's fault or anyone's responsibility to pay those loans back, but my own. But I'm not pushing for Biden to pay. I just wish someone had known." Absolutely, and that's why we need to take this pain now so we can teach future generations. And that pain will stay in your head, and you'll be like, "Yo, I need to educate my children on this shit. I need to make sure that one day, at some point, I need to sit down and have like a 2 or 3 hour conversation, like 19 billion times." As a parent to make sure they know don't do this dumb shit, right? Like my son will know, listen, drugs will fuck you up, all right? And I'm gonna ingrain that in his head, and I'm gonna show him examples from my life, right? And I'll be like, yo, listen, take the privileges. Let me show you where I came from. Let me show you the things I had to deal with, right? Oh no, you're good. I have strong opinions on it, man, and it offends some people, and they get mad. Well, you aren't under crushing debt like me. Yeah, I didn't take it on. I didn't have the option to. You think I didn't try? I got told no. Because guess what? Coming out of the system. So did they ask you what your parents' income is? Even on FAFSA, they ask you what your parents' income is, and you have to provide it. And the system doesn't allow you not to put it in. Well, guess what? I didn't have. Yeah, but you see it as okay. So that right, man. Anyone get it else getting life lessons for free? Just me, cool. No, like I've dealt with it. I had bad credit, right? I think I linked it in this. You know what? Fuck it. I don't care. I'll pull up my credit card man right now. I don't care. Here. Now, mind you, I've been facing trial for 5 years, and I went from making a six-figure income to making below $50,000. Okay. Well, I'm gonna show you this live on air. We're looking at Alex's credit. Yo, it's a 609. All right. But I want to show you something. Even through all the adversity, and mind you, like I used my credit cards as a way to build credit by literally I put everything on them and then use my paycheck to pay them off. Okay. And no matter what's happened, this right here, you see that? Payment history, 100%. I ain't missed now one. Now one. Now, for those who think, oh well, it might not be that much, I'm gonna show you what my I'm gonna show you what my credit. Hold on, let me go back. Let me show you what my credit usage is. I ain't missed one payment in 5 years being under this knife. No one taught me how to save money. No one taught me how to do investments. No one. I taught myself. I didn't have parents. I grew up in group homes and institutions. Okay, the people that were there tried, but I wasn't listening to them because I was too busy trying to survive the streets. Ain't nobody teach me this shit. But I got enough credit to be able to get limits like that. Oh no, I get it. I'm not arguing with you. Nah, you're good. I'm just saying like, yo, like yeah, I got these life lessons for free by fucking up and having to work harder. Nobody taught me shit. I mean, just looking right here, you can see, what is that? 15. It's like 16,000, 18,000, 22, 26, 28, like $30,000 in credit cards. Guess what? I ain't missed now one payment. My derogatory marks are from medical bills.
I hate how they can put that onto your credit score.
Yo, mine, 3 of them are from shit where it was like a secondary company, right? That was like billing.
Yep.
And I didn't know about it. And then by the time I learned about it, I had insurance at the time that would have covered it. But trying to get my insurance to go back and deal with these people, and I just said, fuck it. Like, I ain't using my credit right now anyways. So, but this right here matters, right? If I can do it, and if I can learn this shit, you can learn this shit.
And give selling myself up here, but I got lucky because my parents, when I was younger, helped pay my car, and that built my credit. So I'm on
No,
good
I ain't
credit
hating on
standing.
anybody who had parents who looked out for them. Yo, I'm envious of you, and I'm glad that you had people to look out for you like that. Like, I don't hold any prejudice towards those people. But what I do have a problem with is I had a conversation with someone the other night, right? And we were outside talking. They were talking about privilege, and they were on about privilege this, privilege that, and talking about different privileges. Like, you grew up above your parents? She said, yeah, of course. Why you asked that? And tried to get offended a little bit. I was like, you need to remember, my foster family's black, and you need to chill, right? It's like, I didn't grow up with my family. I didn't grow up with parents. Well, that's not really privilege. Huh? It's like, yo, you said when you were 22 you had a bad breakup with your boyfriend, and you had nowhere to go, so you went home, and that was real humbling for you. Well, yeah. It's like, what if you didn't have a home to go home to? What if you didn't have no net to catch you when you fell? You said, and then after that, you got married, and you ended up losing everything, and he left, and you had to go home again with you and your 2 kids. It's like, but what if you didn't have that? What if when my daughter, I had full custody of my daughter before the whole situation happened that we've talked about, we're not going to talk about here, right? I had full custody of my daughter up in the time she was 7 years old. From time she was 3 until she was 7. If I failed, right? If things just went south by myself, I didn't get a dime of child support. If things went south for me, there was no I'm going home to mommy or dad or anything. And I don't mean that as an insult to anybody, right? But imagine that pressure. I can't call mom up and be like, hey, mom, can you help me out? Can you lend me some money? I didn't have mom to be like, yo, can you I didn't even have, even if you don't have family who has finances like that, the ability just to call somebody up and ask advice, right? Now, I had some people like that, but I had fell out of touch with them, right? Because I had been stubborn in my youth. And when I went to the military, I lost touch with a lot of people. That I've regained that now with the power of social media. But I didn't have someone I could just call and be like, yo, I don't know what to do, man. I think I might have fucked up. Like, what do I do? Like, help me out. Like, help me understand. Help me process this situation. Right? That is some privilege right there. I believe that there's different types of privilege. I don't believe that any privilege outweighs another one, right? And I have some disagreements about certain types of privileges that people talk about, but we're not going to get into that on this conversation tonight because we're getting close to the time. We're about a minute away, actually, because we're going to 10 and we're going to quit. But, at the end of the day, man, I don't hate on anybody for the advantages that they had in life. And you shouldn't either. Don't be jealous of nobody because they had something you don't. You worked harder and you survived, right? And it makes you stronger. And I'm sure that somewhere along the way you had something they didn't have. And if not, guess what? We still here. Let's make it happen. Let's make sure that the next generation doesn't have to suffer that same fate. Even if you had to struggle and you had no privilege whatsoever, make sure that your sons, your daughters, your kids, your family, your grandchildren don't have to have that same struggle. And that's on
Plus,
you.
you can always
Go ahead. Sorry.
improve. No, you're good. You can always improve yourself just because, like, how we were talking about the society thing, like, you have to go to college to improve or, like, to get a good job. Like, there's no timeline of when something should be done, so you can always learn and improve
So
no
for
matter
example,
how
let's say I go to prison for 20 years. When I get out, I'm still gonna get my medical degree. It don't matter. I'm gonna be 55. I'm gonna be 60 practicing medicine, bro. I'm telling you. I don't expect that because I'm innocent, but the justice system's a crapshoot. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Same.
and that's right, Forcell. So Forcell said, from my experience, those who I have met that are privileged usually make the worst life decisions.
Yeah, because
And
they've never had the
yeah.
consequences.
Yeah, so I have my son's mom. Her mom always bails her out. Right now, she has no car because she lost her license because she decided not to pay some tickets. Right now, her mom said, "I'll pay your tickets and help you buy a car." But she's not doing it. Why? Because that would take work. Because she wants someone else to do it for her. And I love this woman. Don't get me wrong. She's the mother of my children, right? But her mom has always bailed her out. And so she sometimes she sometimes is not motivated to fix her own problems because other people have fixed them for her, right? My child ain't never going to have that problem. My child learned. So I gave my daughter everything she could ever want because I believe in life. If you work hard and you do what you're supposed to do and you do your thing, you'll get what you have. You don't get extra by going to work. You get what you deserve, right? So my daughter, if she was doing what she was supposed to, getting up on time, doing her teeth, getting her hair done, getting dressed, all the stuff she's supposed to do, going to school, getting A's, coming home, doing her homework without having to be told, right? She got anything she wanted. The moment she started slipping, I started taking things away. Why? Because you don't lose your job until you mess up, right? So I think this rewarding you for doing the things you're supposed to do. No, you should just have because you're doing what you're supposed to do. And when you don't do what you're supposed to do, you lose. That's how life works. I have because I go to work. I have because I get up every day and do what I'm supposed to do. And I lose my job. I lose my stuff by losing my job by not doing what I'm supposed to do. Right? That's my parenting philosophy. I ain't trying to preach to nobody. I'm just saying. I got a little long-winded there. But yeah, fucking truth, absolutely, Northern Lights. I appreciate you, man. But yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah. So, that's my theory. Just like I don't helicopter my son. I let him make mistakes. I actually will see him about to be getting hurt and I'm like, okay, he ain't gonna get hurt too bad. Let's let this happen. Why? Because guess what? I can tell him no all day and he's gonna keep trying to do it. But when I put up that baby gate on the second step, I tell him no. And of course, I have a little bit of a net there to catch him. He ain't gonna get hurt. I ain't gonna let him fall down like a flight of steps, y'all. Come on now. But he falls down those 2 steps and bumps his head. He learns. He's like, oh, these things will fuck me up. Let me not do that again.
They won't know fire's hot until they touch it.
I ain't gonna let my son touch a hot burner like
Yeah.
with his whole hand. He may touch it with his fingertip eventually, but for right now, he's too young to understand that concept, and I ain't doing that to him. But he gets it. He was messing with the door. Told him to quit messing with the door. He keeps messing with the door. I'm like, you gonna pitch your hand? He just looks at me like, I'm like, oh, okay, you gonna learn. And he goes, and I see it happening, and his hands on the inside of the door as he's pushing it forward, and they went, bang! And he started screaming. I was like, no. I talked to him. I rubbed his shoulders. I ain't pick him up. I don't believe in over soothing. Hey, and I grabbed his hand and I rubbed it, and I was like, it's okay, right? I told you, leave the door alone. And guess what? He don't do anymore. He makes sure his hand is not in that door. He'll push it, but he ain't holding on to it. He ain't swinging it back and forth. When I tell him no, he stops, right? Sometimes we need that pain in life to teach us it's okay. And those of us who have had it really hard, we know that pain better than anyone. So we work twice as hard to avoid it, which actually can make you overly cautious, which is a conversation for another time. But guys, I appreciate you joining me tonight. Stay safe, be healthy, and be awesome.